Good Friday to all, and Big Sills. Happy Holy Friday to you. You know, great time of the year for you and your family to get together. Food, the Lord. I don't know, man. You know, it's funny. You know, I turn on some of these shows, they're almost afraid to say Happy Good Friday. It's incredible how people are today and how nervous they get because anytime they bring religion up or anytime they talk about what's going on in like Israel and Gaza, everyone gets so nervous. Hey, man, one thing is for sure. It's Good Friday. Let's all celebrate it together here. Atheist, you're welcome as well. Appreciate it, man. Also, it's the opening day of Major League Baseball. We're going to kind of have a hodgepodge today of a show when it comes to our guest. At 3:30, to celebrate the Phillies opening day, we're going to have Curt Schilling on. And we'll talk a little bit of ball with Curt Schilling. We'll ask him about the Shohei Ohtani stuff. Also, Diamond Dallas Page is going to be with us at 4:30. I love those A&E specials on the wrestling legends of the WWE. I mean, I love that thing. When those things come on Sunday, I watch the hell out of that stuff. I mean, I really think A&E has done a heck of a job. And they've done a heck of a job with that series, man. So we're going to have Diamond Dallas Page. And, of course, the legendary Philly Godfather will be with us at 5:30 Eastern time. Andre the Giant story was awesome. Hey, James, DDP, man, that's my boy. Big Sills showing support on this Good Friday. How you doing? By the way, right there, Big Marshall, he reminds us each and every single day, along with our friend James on our Super Chats. You guys go immediately to the top. We so appreciate it. I can't tell you how we thank you for it and how thankful I am for it. And yesterday I was accused of being soft. You know, hey, you can't be the villain every day. Or can you? I don't know. I want to say something here. And I say that, and here I go here. I want to say something to you about your boy Howie Roseman in a good light. I know, shocking. Not today, Sills. Hey. Okay? The Rock has, LJ, The Rock has been back a lot with WWE. Okay? He has been a lot. Sills, Debo soft or AJ soft? I don't think AJ Brown's soft. I think Debo's softer. I think he plays a more finesse game than what AJ plays. And by the way, I don't think Debo's all that soft, but I think AJ Brown's more physical as a football player. Okay? I do. Let me ask you this. If you were a free agent in the National Football League right now, would you want to play in New England? Does New England look like a destination? I heard something from Mike Evans. Before Mike Evans signed his contract, and this is what was told to me by Bruce Arians. You want to hear something? Chris, listen to this. Before he signed, he had a chance to talk to some of the people in New England, or his agent did. And you know what Mike Evans came away from? Because they were starting to line up teams potentially. If the Bucks, how about this, LJ? Listen to this. If the Bucks didn't give him that contract, he was lining teams up on where he potentially was going to go and play. And this is what he came back and told Bruce Arians. You know, they're just not ready to win. They're not ready to win right now. That's not a destination for me. I started thinking about something that maybe supersedes anything that Howie Roseman is doing right now when it comes to the type of players, whether they're mid-level, what I think of them, what you think of them. You know, the one thing that you have to say, has Howie Roseman made the Philadelphia Eagles a destination for free agents to want to come to and play? You'd have to say yes. The last 3 years, what other organization would you pick that you would want to play at than Philly? Whether the free agents pan out or not, that's not what I'm saying here. Are you not creating an environment in Philadelphia? And if you're a free agent, wouldn't your agent go to you? Hey, listen, Philly gives you opportunity. Philly gives you opportunity, and they're going to pay you on these one-year contracts. So if you have a one-year contract and you have a prove-it deal, Philly may up your value as a player where you can go and play somewhere else. Look at what TJ Edwards did. Guy signed a $7.5 million contract in Chicago. I mean, here's what other places do you think, as a free agent, are places of destination? San Francisco? Probably. Is Dallas? No. Dallas is not doing anything. Is Miami? Probably. Yeah, LJ, Kansas City, really? If you're a free agent, do you want to go to Kansas City? They're not paying anybody. Kansas City's really not paying anybody. They're paying mid-level guys, but they're reinvesting in their own guys. I would say Philly, Miami, and San Francisco. The Ravens, maybe. Yeah, the Ravens. Okay. Okay, the Ravens. My point is that Howie Roseman has made Philadelphia a destination for potential free agents to at least kick the tires on the team. I was thinking about what Mike Evans said about some teams. He goes, New England's not ready to win. I'm not going there. I have no interest. You don't have a quarterback. Like, look at Minnesota. Is Minnesota a destination that you want to go and play right now if you're a free agent? I mean, is that a destination? You don't have a quarterback. They're signing guys. But, I mean, you got to hand it to Howie here in a way where you're looking at a place where people want to play. Make sense? Hey, my criticism of the guy is one thing on the players that he brought in. The one thing he is doing, though, he's making it so that if you're a free agent, you maybe want to come in Las Vegas. Yeah, but I don't trust the organization. It's not a well-run organization. Philadelphia gives you everything. They give you an opportunity. They pay you. And you know what? I'll say this to you. Okay, Vegas may give you that opportunity, but what's the one thing they don't do? They don't win. Okay? They don't. Now, before we get into the topics, by the way, like I said, we got a packed show today. The Chargers may be a place because of Jim Harbaugh. Okay? Despite the struggles, Philly is still a top-notch landing spot for free agents. Agreed. I think we can all agree on that. Ring chasing too? Sure, LJ. It offers free agents an opportunity. And what really is, it's pretty smart strategy that he has. 1-year contracts, not 2. You're not signing one with an option. You're giving the player a deal to come in. Like, look at Devon. Let's take Devon White. You and I are on both sides of the aisle here with him. Well, Devon White has 1 year to prove it. Okay. So if Devon White comes in and plays like the second year he played when he was in the NFL, he's going to get a monster contract in free agency, whether that's in Philly or not. And Philly didn't tie his shoes and his feet to another contract and didn't make the thing team-friendly except for the money. That's inviting to me. Hey, you want a shot at playing? You want a shot at getting paid? Remember what I said yesterday to you. Hey, he had a $90 million contract demand with the Buccaneers, and he signed for $3 million. That is a massive loss on how the value you thought of that player. That's a massive loss to the player. He's got to go. You know, some of you guys may be right about him. Can you imagine this? At the beginning of last year, and Xander even told me, this guy got a contract extension, and they gave him more money. You valued yourself at over $100 million. And your agent thought you had a market value. So did I. So did the Bucs at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, they let him walk, and he signs for $3 million. That's a $97 million hit to your value as a player. That is, you can't recover that unless you play great this year. Unless you play great. I would make the argument that Philadelphia is a better landing spot than Dallas right now. It's a better landing spot. Jerry Jones right now is looking at, and he's overvaluing. How many people would sign Micah Parsons to a $30 million contract? NYG fan here. Bobby O signing made a big difference for our defense last year. Not sure if White is in the same place. Yes. Yeah, PJ, they're revamping that defense by bringing Brian Burns in there and paying the money that they paid to bring Burns in. Now you got him on the other side of Thibodeau. Plus you got the big guy in the middle. I'm telling you, the Giant defense, I think they're going to go in the back end of that draft. And I think they're going to work on the corners and the safeties in the back end because they have to. I thought that letting Xavier McKinney walk out the building, I don't understand that. I get they didn't want to pay $20 million for that. And they'd rather have Brian Burns than a $20 million safety. Okay. I get it. Hey, I'm LJ, I agree. I'm just saying that they looked at the Burns signing as more important than what they did was they moved money. McKinney got 17-8 in Green Bay, right? He got 25. So they looked at it. Well, if we're going to spend a lot of money, we're going to spend it on a 26-year-old defensive end in Brian Burns. Their defense got better. Like, their front four is formidable. They may have the best front four in the NFL. Or wait, in the NFC East. They may have the best front four with what they have. They've got 3 All-Pros on the line, or they got 2 All-Pros on the line, and they have a kid in Thibodeau that's going to benefit from having Burns on the other side. The Giants' defense definitely got better. Now, what some will say, how many points are they going to score? Agreed. Their issues are clearly on offense, and you let Barkley walk out the building. Okay, so you let your best offensive football player walk out the building. You've got an overrated Waller as tight end that you're paying gigantic money to, and you got a quarterback that you have buyer's remorse on. You're not in the best place. You're not in the best place if you are the New York Giants. Happy Good Friday to you too, 11-17. Appreciate you coming aboard. All right. So, but they did make it a great destination. If you're a free agent, Philly's at the top of everybody's list right now. They're at the top of everybody's list, I would say. All right. I want someone to do something for me here. This is not going to be a rip on Hurts or really anybody. I want some clarity on something. I went back and listened to that interview with Jeffrey Lurie at the owners' meetings a couple days ago. What does the phrase mean? He wants Jalen Hurts to be more authentic. I mean, you know, Jerry Jones had that line where he said, "We're all in," and no one knows what it means now. You know what I mean? I'm still trying to figure out what all in means. We're all in what? This mess? You haven't done anything. We're all in? We're pushing our chips in? I mean, right? I still don't know what all in means. What is the owner saying when he says, I want the quarterback to be more authentic? Seals, you think Surtain wants to come to Philly? Denver has no chance in the AFC West. Sean Payton will not turn that thing around. He doesn't have a quarterback. Sean Payton will die on the vine there, like Jimmy died on the vine in Miami. He's not turning Denver around. No way. Doesn't have a quarterback. James, thank you. God bless, man. Big Sills making today a home run. It's Good Friday. DDP and Sills is full of energy. How you doing? I'm happier than a Miami Hurricane successfully sneaking into a Miami strip club. Very good, James. James knows the story now. You guys do. Yeah, we weren't allowed in the strip clubs, and it wasn't because of our coaches. It was because the strip club owners and the general managers wouldn't let us get in trouble in the strip clubs. That's a true story. We went into everywhere else, but they wouldn't let. Every time we tried sneaking in, they wouldn't let us in. No. You know what? Seriously, they would give us food. We'd eat it in the kitchen. Then they escort us out to our cars. No, not happening. And then they would call Jimmy up. Jimmy would know. You're over at the Pink Pony, huh? Okay, you're over in Palomino, huh? Okay. What are you doing over there? I went up to get a sandwich. Hey, I got a really good sandwich. Sills and DDP are the new. Hey, come on, man. DDP's good people, man. He's helping a lot of people out. He's got a great program, too, DDP Yoga. We'll talk a little bit about that. The business, the wrestling business, how big it is today. Little change of pace here today. We got also Curt Schilling at 3:30, and we got DDP at 4:30. So, yeah, we weren't allowed in the script clubs, okay? Help me out here, though. What is Jeffrey Lurie talking about when he's talking about he wants the quarterback to be more authentic? James says, Sills, you see Isaiah Rodgers starting at slot corner. I don't know. I'm not going to overhype the kid until I see him play. He looked like he was going to be something good in Indianapolis. Then the gambling thing happened. He's a former 6th rounder. You can miss on that. No question. I want to see him in Vic Fangio's offense. Be himself more. Steve, what's that mean exactly? Is that code for I want you to be more of a leader? Is that code for I want you to be more expressive? Or just still the way you – because I don't like Jalen Hurts' attitude when it comes to expressing his leadership on the sidelines. I think he's too quiet. Now, Derek Jeter was like that. I really never thought Derek Jeter was the real leader of those Yankee teams. I thought Paul O'Neill was. Or I thought Gary Sheffield was. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that Hurts is a poor leader. I'm saying, I don't know. When I think of leadership, I don't think of him. I don't look at Jalen Hurts as a leader. I look at him at leading the offense. There's a difference. You know, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. I mean, a leader of a team, that's Jason Kelce. That's Fletcher Cox. That's Brandon Graham. To some extent, Lane Johnson. Okay? I don't, no. 11-17, I'm not saying that you have to be all fired up. Okay? I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, you know, I would like him to be more with an authority and be more like, hey, AJ, don't worry about it. I'll get you the ball. Be more assertive in the game plan. People praise Jalen's leadership style when they're winning, dude. Dude is stoic guy, doesn't get too high or too low. So do you think his leadership helped that football team when they were sliding off a cliff last year? There was nothing stoic about that. Watching him on the sidelines pouting. I didn't see anything stoic in a 1-7 slide. I didn't see anything stoic. As a matter of fact, I thought that 1-7 slide exposed him a little bit as not being a strong leader. I want him on the sidelines talking to players, not staring into space when things aren't going good. By the way, Twiz, you know what, too? Always remember this. Tom Brady screamed at his players, but you know why he did? He built up equity with his win. Jalen's built equity up. He can be more assertive. If you're going to get into a confrontation and you're A.J. Brown and you're going to turn yourself into a pariah like T.O. did, they're going to take the side of Hurts all the time. It's his freaking team. I don't think that Jalen Hurts has grabbed a hold of this team yet and made it his. Jalen was so in the process of recreating the narrative of his passing ability and his playing ability that the one thing he has the last thing to do is grab the team and make it his. Because many of you, equity takes time. It's 3 years now, dude. And what I'm saying, I'm talking about what the owner said. I want Jalen to be more authentic. Okay. I want Jalen to be more authentic too. But what I also want him to do, you can't be saying this, well, the offense is going to run through the running back or the wide receiver. Can I tell you one of the absolutely best leaders in sports today? Who do you think the best leader in sports is right now? He's my favorite leader. Who's the best leader in sports right now? If you had to pick one leader in any sport, who would that guy be? Eagles cannot continue to have soft practices. I hate complacency. Okay, he was frustrated, and so were the other players. If the coaches aren't willing to change their mentality, what should they do? Hey, man, sometimes you got to overcome that stuff. LeBron James. Harry, thank you. Harry, Steph Curry. He's the best leader in sports today. Does he scream? No. Does he shout at players? No. You know what he does? He enables players. Same way Dwayne Wade did. Hey, Draymond, he takes the good and the bad with him. Like when they had KD. This is KD's team. This is KD's team. That's how you get the best out of people. Hey, this is Saquon Barkley and A.J. Brown's team. That's leadership. Knowing full well everyone looks at him and goes, no, he's the leader. Because when you're that comfortable with yourself and you're not trying to grab the golden mic to make everyone believe that you're the leader, everyone knows leadership is not something that's appointed. Leadership is something that's earned. You earn leadership. You don't get, the people that put, years ago when I had my show on in Orlando, you guys remember Tracy McGrady? They put captain on his jersey. And I was like this. So they just gave him the captaincy? That's the one great thing about hockey. In hockey, you don't have that C put on your sweater. That C is earned, and so is the A. When you earn that captain to have that thing put on your sweater, it's not appointed to you. Okay? It's something that you earn. I don't think Jalen Hurts has learned how to become a leader yet and grab a hold of that football team and make it his own because he's still trying to figure out himself. And I think that's what the owner means. I think that's what he says. Be more authentic, man. Open up more. Let's hear it. Even Kelsey and Cox said what Sill said about Hurts, and they purposely stepped back all year, even during the slide, to give Hurts the leadership position and opportunity. And he didn't take it. James, that's such a great take. Anthony says that Hurts is a quiet leader. Anthony, I don't need a quiet leader in 1-7. James goes, that Lurie speech is fool's gold. No. It was bizarre. Sills, Jalen is still in the early part of his career. True. And he's come a longer distance, hasn't he? I think Dak Prescott does a nice job running his football team. I think Dak Prescott's more of a leader than what Jalen Hurts is. He's got more pressure on him. Now, the postseason absolutely unravels that. He can't be 2-5. He can't be 2-5 and being called a great leader. Then again, I don't think Hurts is a great leader. Okay? No. Des, the 2-5 unravels it. But I think he conducts himself as a face of the most important franchise and the most expensive franchise on the planet. I think Jalen Hurts conducts himself as good as Wayne Rooney did when he was with Manchester United or any of the gigantic franchises around the world. When you're the face of something like that, hey, man, you're going to be the most exposed. And get this, if Dak Prescott was 2-5 in Tennessee, nobody would give a shit. He's 2-5 with the Cowboys. That's not going to cut it. Jalen Hurts is 2-3 in the postseason. Okay, he's 2-3. As good as he played in the Super Bowl, he was horrific in the Bucs game. So you've got two massive ends of the spectrum when it comes to Jalen Hurts. I think Dak is a hell of a leader. And again, the postseason, that's where you and me agree. Hey, dude, come on now. You can't have Green Bay roll into your place and you guys play as tight as a drum like that. And you can't drive a nail into the sphincter because you're so tight in that ball. You cannot have that. Okay? You just can't. James says that Dak reminds him of McNabb. Hey, what was McNabb's postseason record? I'd be interested to see in what his postseason record is and what Donovan did. I think Donovan did a lot more winning in the postseason than what Dak has done. And I think Dak has had more talent around him. Now, he did have Westbrook. Westbrook, in my opinion, is one of the best offensive weapons the Philadelphia Eagles have ever had. Okay? I mean, McNabb won a lot of playoff games. I mean, I guarantee you he's probably doubled anything. Yeah, so if you're talking about 5 straight AFC or NFC championship games, you got to win at least 2 games to get to that game. Right? So you're talking about like 5. I mean, he's got to have some. He's 9-7. That's what McNabb's playoff record is. That's the same playoff record that Russell Wilson has. You realize that? Donovan McNabb actually has a better playoff record than what Dan Marino has. I didn't realize that. He was 9-7. Brian, think about that. Donovan McNabb has the same playoff record as Dan Marino. If he was a leader, he would have sat for the Seattle game. Get him rested. resting would have served the team better than the private fights, than being around teammates sick anyway. So, okay, he would. I don't believe that Jalen was as hurt as people think he was. I just think the offense wasn't as good as it was a year ago under Shane Steichen. He may have been banged. How could he be more banged up than he was a year ago when, quite frankly, he didn't run as much? Dan, I was talking about the style of play, okay? McNabb just couldn't get over the hump. Well, neither could Marino. Neither could Marino. All good, Soul. Don't worry, Soul. Hey, I'll be reading a couple of James's super chats or some of your super chats back over again, so don't worry about it. Okay? Look at the routes and the receivers that they were running. I agree. I'm just talking about what the owner and the expectations are this year for him. I think this is a big year for Jalen Hurts as a leader of the football team. I'll tell you this. Let me ask you something here before we move on to the second topic. If Jalen Hurts throws for 4,300 yards and 30 touchdowns, the team is awful competitive and wins 12 games. They get upset in the opening round, but Kellen Moore has turned Hurts around and into a direction where the organization wants him to be. Will that be a success? What's more important this year? Fixing Hurts or winning a Super Bowl? What's more important? Winning the Super Bowl or fixing Hurts? Can't have both. Well, you're not going to win the Super Bowl unless Hurts is turned around. And get this, winning a Super Bowl may not just be this year. What if turning him around this year leads to 2 Super Bowls next year and the year after? I think it's fixing Hurts. Because then you open up a Super Bowl window again. Right now, I don't think you have one. Or how about this? It's questionable. Yeah, but wait, LJ, you don't turn him around, you're further behind. If you don't turn Jalen Hurts around this year, you'll never turn that guy around ever again. Not with all the money he spent. Not with the new coordinator. There's nothing left to do. He's at a crossroads in his career right now. Do we not agree that? If Jalen Hurts doesn't turn it around this year, you'll never turn it around. It's over. Am I wrong? What are you going to do? Back to the drawing board? New coordinator? New head coach? Those are steps backwards. Do you understand? Hiring Kellen Moore is a step backwards. You know why? Because you're starting over again. It may be an upgrade at coordinator, but it's a step backwards because it's another coordinator. It's his 4th coordinator in 3 years of starting. That's not a step forward. So as you forget that we don't fall in love with players. I think you guys do fall in love with players. We won a Super Bowl with a backup. All that matters is the logo on the front. Well, LJ, I'm glad to hear you say that because me too. I don't give a shit about the nameplate on the back. I care about the emblem on the helmet. Absolutely. Okay? Come on, Sills, it's over. Tell that to Stafford. What do you mean? I'm not sure what that means. Were they supposed to bring Brian Johnson back for continuity? Well, Brian Johnson, did he not beat Vic Fangio pretty handily? Did he not beat Kansas City and Mahomes? Did he not beat Josh Allen? Did he not beat Dak Prescott? Was it really him? I mean, you guys, every time I bring up something with Jalen Hurts, you guys fire back. Well, guess who the OC was? Brian Johnson. And when things started going south, Nick started having more of an influence in the offense, and they started losing to Drew Lock. Was Brian Johnson the offensive coordinator when they went into Kansas City and beat Mahomes? Senor says, Lurie admitted that Nick's call to change DCs from Desai to Patricia was a failed decision. I think that's the biggest lie that Jeffrey Lurie told. Do you actually believe? Get this, Senor, you really want to know how stupid and how much of a lie that is by the owner of the Philadelphia Eagles? So let me ask you this. You really think that was Nick Sirianni's decision? So was it his decision not to have a job this year and not have any influence on the offense at all and to hire a new coordinator? Or like the Philadelphia Inquirer said, if he didn't agree to a new coordinator, he'd have been fired. The guy talks in circles, just like Angelo says. Why would he lie? Because he wants the public perception and a fall guy in case the thing goes sideways that wasn't his decision. Remember something about your owner. He's not going to take accountability for failure. He's going to take victory laps for successes. That's what the GM and the owner does in Philly. Those coaches are all fall guys. Why would he lie? You mean why would he deflect? If you notice, Jeffrey also said it was Nick's decision to bring Vic and more in to the coordinating roles. Senor, I know you don't believe that. I know you don't. Nobody does. What coach in their right mind wouldn't want to have say in their own team? Hurts is 4 years in. It took Stafford 10 years before he won it all. Hurts still has time. It's not over. If he doesn't win it all this year. Hey, Philly 4x4. That's because he had Sean McVay. You don't have a Sean McVay in Philadelphia. Sean McVay is the reason that the Rams go to Super Bowls, not the quarterbacks. He's taken Jared Goff, who wasn't drafted by him, to a Super Bowl and lost 14-3. He took a guy who was a massive failure in Detroit to a Super Bowl, who still has an under 500 record and won a Super Bowl. You think it's really those guys or it's the coach? You think it's really Nick Foles or do you think it was Doug Peterson? Come on, man. Doug Peterson won that Super Bowl and the coaching of Frank under him and Jim Schwartz, the other defensive coordinator in that building. Coaching won that Super Bowl. You needed the best coaching job you could possibly have with great effort from your players in 17 to beat the greatest coach of all time. And on top of that, to beat the greatest player of all time. James, you're awesome. Did the Eagles leak and push Hurts' injury to lessen criticism of losses and leadership problems? Dallas never mentioned Lamb's, but last 3 games, at least we wore 1, 2, and 3 knee sleeves. Only seen before because of colors and paint sliding up. The pants sliding up. Yes, absolutely, James. I think it's an excuse. Remember something, James. That organization loves to deflect. And I think that I don't believe he was hurt. I believe he was banged up. But he ran less. Did the Eagles leak and push Hurts' injury to lessen criticism of losses? It's not beneath him. And leadership problems? Maybe. Dallas never mentioned Lambs. I didn't even know CeeDee Lamb was injured. Last 3 games at least. He wore 1 and 2, then 3 knee sleeves, only seen because of colors and pants sliding up. You know what, too? James, he did get hit more in the pocket. Do you really think they forced Jalen Hurts to put on a knee brace? No. No, senor, I do not. But Nick lies. Marcus says that Jalen was hurt last year. He wasn't on the injury list at all last year. I think, was he ever on the injury list? Was he? I don't ever remember the Eagles putting him on an injury list or a questionable list. Okay, so Senor goes like this, not once. So why would you think he was hurt? That's an excuse you're making for him. If he's not listed, it's against the NFL bylaws too. If a guy's really injured, that's against NFLPA protocols for health of a player. You're trying to tell me the Eagles don't give a shit about his health? So they played an injured player and didn't put him on the injured report? That's a violation. You lose draft choices for that if that's true. Do you understand that? That if the player was injured, and Jalen hasn't had any surgeries, has he? Has he had anything like scopes or anything like that? He's had nothing. I don't believe the player was hurt. Senor, I do too. You know what, Senor? I don't think they believe it's lying. I just think they believe that they're going to try to lead you like astray to a different outcome. And I don't really believe that they're just bull-faced lying. I think that they just don't want to tell what's going on inside the organization. And I guess that's a form of lying. Even the reporters kept asking him if he was hurt. He was never on the IR. Lamb had 3 sleeves on his right knee during the playoffs loss when he was tackled. You see 3 different sleeve colors. Every player's dealing with something. Again, stop with the excuses. I'm 100%. I cannot wait for little Nicky to get fired and booed and popcorn. Hey, man. Bone bruise isn't a joke. Yeah, well, he didn't miss any time. It wasn't on the IR. So that guy was not hurt. How about this? He had a horrible end to his season. Why can't you just accept that? Why? Sills, happy Easter to you and your family. Once this draft is complete, Howie needs to find offensive head coach candidate to monitor. Can't just hand it to Moore. We need the right guy. Only people that know is training staff and team doctors. Yeah, but Chris, you're using an excuse that wasn't real. That's a phony comment. The guy wasn't hurt. Okay? It was totally not hurt. All right, we're going to move on. I'm going to show you how hard it is to coach in Philly. Says, why do you blame Hurts for ending of the season? It starts at the top. Marcus, well, you're paying him $50 million. He gets the criticism and he gets the glory. That's his job. And that's part of the job description. It's his responsibility to stop that slide like it was in Kansas City for Mahomes. When they were going through a bumpy ride, it was his responsibility. There's a reason you pay somebody $50 million, not just sit on the sidelines and mope. I mean, don't you expect more from your quarterback to try to stop the bleeding? Either that or that's not his football team yet. When does that become a priority for Jalen, that this is his team and it's a reflection of him? Jalen thinks he's a reflection of himself. not the reflection of his team. He's the reflection of his team, like every great quarterback. You're the reflection of your organization. And he was last year at the end, a reflection of the chaos. That's why you're paid $50 million. Okay? That's why you're paid that money, Marcus. You're paid that money because that team has to embody the things you are and the things you want that team to be. And without Kelsey there, this is going to be even more interesting to watch. So even you said Jalen was hurt and you thought it happened in the Ram game. I actually thought, Prince, it happened in the New England game. If you remember in that opener, okay, I thought he had his knee with contact to a helmet. If you remember, in the second quarter of that game in New England, the opener, I thought he hurt it there. I also thought that he got a little more banged up in that Jet game. Okay, but it wasn't significant enough for them to put him on IR or to put him on their injury report. I thought he got I thought he got hit. I thought he got hit in that game one in that opener in New England. Okay? Defense was the reason of the team slide. But was defense the reason you couldn't score 10 points against the Bucs in the playoffs? Big Sills haven't tuned in a minute. Annette, welcome back. I don't remember Hurts getting hurt except that mild concussion, and he came back in the game. As he wasn't the same. Prince, I thought it actually was the New England game that he got banged up and started sliding. Remember, because after that he started pre-sliding. And that was the first game I noticed it. I went, wow, he's pre-sliding? That's something to keep an eye on. Okay? What's your prediction for the beginning of the season start of on the slide or on the strong, or slide or strong? That's a great question. I got to see the schedule. I don't think you can make that prediction right now. I think you got to see now look, you're going to open with the Browns and you're going to open with the Browns at a neutral site. I don't know. A lot of new faces you have. They don't have a lot of new faces over there in Cleveland. And it looks like Watson's going to be ready to rock. Okay? Yep, it was the Jets game where he stopped running except to the sideline. It's wishful thinking to think the Eagles' offense will carry the defense. Because it could. That's right, James, because it couldn't last year. So dropping passes and the O-line not blocking and defense not tackling is Hurts' fault. I'm not saying Hurts was at best, but it's not even 70% his fault the team tanked. So Jalen was part of the tanking. You can't put him here and everyone over here. He's in the boat with them. Whether he's got a golden oar or you don't, you're still rowing. Whether he's got the front seat or you got the back seat, you're all rowing. You can't exclude him. You can't put him in a lifeboat and give him the ability to sail off and say it's not his fault if the boat drowns or if the boat sinks. It's not his fault, everyone else's fault. He goes down with the ship too. Okay? He goes down with the ship. No. Not Coxman. My aunt looked it up. It's Coxswain. Let's get it right. It's Coxswain. Sills, honestly, who would you like the Eagles to take number 1 overall if they stay put? Do you think it's the Eagles' move up the draft by trading Reddick? You know, I was going to wait for a little bit later, bud. Bob Brown says, Sills, there are times to lead by example, and there are times to flex the authority. You're being entrusted. That's right. You're being entrusted when you get that kind of contract. Jalen needs to be determine which style is needed at any given moment. That's right, man. That's called leadership. Sometimes and also you have to know which guy to hit with a hammer and which guy to hit with a feather. I'm a guy you have to hit with a hammer, not a feather. Okay? Hey! I'm a guy you hit with a hammer to get my attention. Tougher coaching. There's certain guys that don't need tougher coaching. I have to have harder guardrails. I knew that. Jimmy, how many times has Jimmy come on here and said, you were a handful? Jerome, too. Had to have tighter guardrails on us. We'll go off the reservation in a minute. Hey, just to give you an example, I clotheslined a guy in a Florida State game. Jimmy Johnson calls me over, 15-yard penalty in an FSU game. And I clotheslined Sammy Smith. I don't know if you guys remember who Sammy Smith was. He played running back for the Dolphins and played at Florida State, and I clotheslined him. It was the cheapest shot you can ever imagine. My aunt was there, and I walk over to the sidelines. I got a 15-yard penalty. Coach Johnson goes, why in the world would you do that? And you know what I told him? I go, I think that guy's gutless. I think that guy will quit because of that. I think that guy won't get up. I think that guy will go to the locker room, and we won't have to worry about him ever again. He goes, that guy better not do anything in this game. 3 plays later, we didn't see him the rest of the game. After the game, Coach Johnson walks over to me, and he goes, your gamble paid off for you because you'd have been in big trouble. He never came back. And I said this, I knew it. He has no intestinal fortitude, and he has no character. And Jimmy, and I had conviction in my soul, and he goes, and Jerome's looking over at me, and he goes, well, Coach, if he wasn't going to do it, I was. And that's what he was talking about when he was on the program last time and said, you were a handful, because I would do shit like that. I don't care. Any means necessary to win a ball game. Nothing was going to stop me from winning. I hated losing. I'm the worst loser on the planet. I can't stand losing. Okay? I can't stand it. And back then it was even more of an intoxicating thing. I can't lose. Just typical Jerome. Hey, Denny. Oh my God, Jerome was just like this, man. He went just like this. But Coach, if he wasn't doing it, I was doing it, because me and him talked about it the night before. We're in our hotel room, and at Shula's hotel. And Jerome goes, are you going to take him out? I go, if I get a shot at that guy, I'm going to clothesline that guy, because I think that guy, I'm not going to say it on Good Friday, but that guy is a wussy. You just drop whatever you want to put in there. I said, I don't believe that guy has a backbone, and I'm going to kill that guy. And boy, did I get him good. He didn't see me coming. One of the biggest cheap shots, massive clothesline. I got booed, even in my own building, because FSU fans were there. Walked right off the field, and he looked at me. Butch Davis is looking at me, wants that, and I go, he's got no character. He's got no character. He won't fight. Truth is, Sills, Eagles are the best team in the NFC. No, they're not. Not by a long ways. Now, to Xander's point, is the NFC strong? Dude, you are not good on defense. Hey, Dan, what happened to Seth Joyner? Nothing. Talked to Seth the other day. Proud part of JAKIB Sports. Why? That's how Jimmy was all the way into Dallas. That's why he said he treats everyone fairly, meaning he treats everyone differently. Correct, he does. And you know why he's still my friend and why he loves me? Is because I performed for him. Chris says top 3 NFC. Dude, the offense is awesome. The defense is awful. Okay? It's awful. Your defense is awful. You don't have a good defense. You know what really is troubling sometimes talking to you guys? You're dismissing the way you played on defense. You're totally dismissing it. Okay? You're totally dismissing it. Who asked me the question if they stay at 22? I got 3 guys down here now. If they stay pat at 22, who asked that question? I want to answer them. Okay? Top 12 defense is all we need. Well, you don't have that right now. You're in the 20s. If you're saying Bradbury will have a bounce back year, they aren't that awful on the D side. Well, that's still got to happen, William. Was me. Okay, Senor. Senor, of these 3 players, who do you want and who do you think they take? Kool-Aid McKinstry, cornerback Bama? Chop Robinson, edge Penn State? Or Troy Fontenot, offensive tackle Washington? I think Xanders thinks they're going to take the tackle. It could be any tackle. Very deep. There's some really good offensive tackles in this draft. Probably the best offensive line draft in 14 years. Okay? Like, you're going to get a really good player down there at offensive tackle. If you want to draft a tackle and the Eagles want to stay pat at 22 and they stay pat, it's more likely they're going to draft an offensive tackle. Okay? If they move up, is the kid Bowers there? You know, I had a lot of people yesterday tell me that they love the idea of getting Brock Bowers. Shit. You get Brock Bowers, you trade Reddick on draft day to get Bowers, you put him in that offensive huddle with Goddard and him. It's impossible to defend that offense. It'd be impossible to defend. And you trade Reddick, you get a 3 for him, a 3 and a 6 for him, and you draft a linebacker or another edge. The edges are pretty deep. I think you could probably go here. The edge rushers, from what I would say like this, LJ Bowers would be unreal. He is, my opinion, he's the best player in the draft. And I think he's better than Marvin Harrison Jr. I just think he's better. And again, he's not sliding down the draft. People, get this. How can a guy like Brock Bowers be sliding down the draft and a guy like J.J. McCarthy going up the draft? How can that be? How can J.J. McCarthy be moving up in the draft and Brock Bowers moving down in the draft? It's because they're pushing stupid players above them. I'd trade Goddard if it meant we could land Bowers. Wow. Would you trade Goddard and Reddick to a team for a 2 and a 3 and a 5? And you get that dough off your books. You get $15 million off the books per player. You get $30 million off the books. Or trade Goddard and 22 and move up. Goddard's injured. I would trade Reddick. You're not going to get the value with Goddard. Goddard's a good player, but he's missed 25% of his career every year since he's been with the Eagles. Teams are going to be suspect of the injury. Then again, the Giants made a move, and they got Waller from the Raiders, and I think they gave up a 3 for him, maybe a 2. I forget what the Giants surrendered to the Raiders to get Waller. I'm telling you, man, I'm falling more and more in love. But if Bowers falls down, and he falls down into that draft, And the Eagles have a chance to get a game-changing football player with a position that is completely not guardable. And you got a player you can't guard. Brock Bowers will have a better season than Laporte did in Detroit. Bowers isn't better than Marvin Harrison Jr., but his position will allow him to have a bigger impact. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. There's better corners in the league than linebackers. Correct. You're not wrong. Okay? That's a great take, Dirty D. Our offense is fine. Hold on. What is the accession offensive side? Hold on, Prince. Here, wait. Prince, you know what? I started thinking. I went around and looked at the NFL. Isn't it become more of a fashionable thing now in the National Football League to be more of an organization that spends money on the offensive side, and that is across the league, than it is on defense? I mean, where are you spending the money? Here's why Dallas is in trouble. How many people would spend $30 million on Micah Parsons? Would you give Micah Parsons $30 million? You got two players in Dallas that I don't want to pay. You know who they are? Dak and Micah Parsons. Do you really want to pay Micah Parsons $30 million? Can you speak to all the injuries on defense, Sills? Blankenship, in and out. Reddick, that was a hand injury he had. He still ended up with 11 sacks. Avonte Maddox, that's why they cut him. Zach Cunningham, I thought he played well through injury. Dean will never play well through injury. Brown was hurt at the end of the season. You don't know if that's going to be chronic. Slay, hey, the cornerback position is a tough position to play. With $25 million max is what Chris says. Man, I have a problem paying Micah Parsons $30 million. I don't think he's a $30 million player. Where in the world does anyone think Micah Parsons is a $30 million player? Why? Because he's a Cowboy? So what's that, an extra $15 million because he's a Cowboy? Every game I need him to play big in, he evaporates. Get this. Every game I need Hassan Reddick, that's a big game to play big in, he plays big in. I may not be the greatest fan of Hassan Reddick's skill set, not being able to tackle and cover guys, but you know the one thing that man does? Big games, he shows up. He shows up. Micah Parsons, where was he in the Green Bay game? Micah was hurt last year. Of course he was. Another guy with more excuses on why he never shows up in big games. Devontae Smith. I said this a couple years ago. I'd rather have Micah Parsons than Devontae Smith. Well, you know what? I've changed my opinion on that. I would not. I think he's overrated. Many people won't believe that or say that. I never see him in big games. I see him cleaning up on teams like the Giants. I see him cleaning. I never see him in games like Philly when Lane's cleaning his clock. Or when the Niners are blowing him off the football with Trent Williams. Did you watch that game against the Cardinals even? The Cardinals were steamrolling him. I mean, they were steamrolling him. The Cardinals. Hey, the Eagles may have got beat by the Cardinals, but they weren't destroyed like that. Like they were. Hey, don't forget, bottom of the hour, we're going to do a little hodgepodge today. In honoring of opening day, we are going to talk with one of your legends. That's Curt Schilling. He'll be at the bottom of the hour. and we will talk to him, and we will get his thoughts. I'm going to come back out of a timeout here, and I got another topic for you before we get to Curt Schilling. Don't forget, DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, will also be with us at 4:30, and Philly Godfather at 5:30. Sills, in the Super Bowl, our defense lost the game. They couldn't stop anything. Yes, Jalen fumbled, but the defense still couldn't stop anything. We put up 35 points. Last year's defense is insanity. They fell apart at the end of the year because of the absolute way it was handled with the coordinators and the lack of depth at the edge and the lack of performance. Absolutely. And the lack of performance. Thanks, Prince. I appreciate you doing that here on a Good Friday. Got a loaded show for you, too. I got a topic coming out, but don't forget March Madness. We're now in the Friday edition of the March Madness here. And please, JAKIB Sports is looking for a select 500 people to join up here with our awesome viewers and subscribers. Underdog Fantasy. Guys, do me a favor. Please sign up. Minimum is $10. They'll match it. You put 10, they'll put 10. You put 20, they'll put 20. All the way up to $100 for this March Madness tournament. Throughout the tournament, remember, Underdog will match you all the way up to a C note. Got to use the promo code WIN. That's W-I-N, WIN. When we come back, we will have the legendary Curt Schilling at the bottom of the hour in honor of opening day. We'll talk a little Phils with him. We'll talk a little sports with him. We'll get his take on Shohei Ohtani as well. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Philadelphia fans were cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services. The first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Mike Little was a union construction worker who was badly injured when he suffered a horrific fall because of someone's negligence. His life would change forever.
It was just a real downward spiral with everything you do, and you're sitting home by yourself all day. You can't go out because you can't drive, you can't walk well. It was just a horrible situation.
Call Brian Fritz at the Fritz and Beyond Cooley Law Firm at 215-548-2222.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Big Sales National Football Show. Appreciate you coming aboard. Going to kind of change that dynamic a little bit with Curt Schilling at the bottom of the hour. Do you know why the NFL Network has zero credibility because the owners dictate the content. You understand what I battle all the time. Can you imagine if the Eagles and we were broadcasting Eagle games? Can you imagine that? If we were broadcasting Eagle games on JAKIB, there wouldn't be one host on this channel that they would want. They would dictate it. Did you see that Colleen Wolfe, who reported that there was an argument between Robert Saleh and Woody Johnson at the owners' meetings? So Woody Johnson comes out and says that is absolutely untrue. And she takes to Twitter and apologizes. I don't know if it's true or not. But when do you ever remember a media person apologizing? I never heard anybody apologizing when CNN came out and said that Aaron Rodgers doesn't believe that the Newtown children were murdered. And they just left that story hanging out there with no accountability. And Aaron Rodgers said that never happened. That wasn't true. CNN never came up and apologized. The NFL Network has zero credibility because the NFL tries to control the content. There's the greatest example of it. Whether the Eagles call my bosses. See, the Eagles call my bosses to intimidate them and to bully them. And see, that's what they did with Colleen Wolfe. They bullied her because she's got 32 owners. She's got 32 owners that sometimes if the content is not where they want it, they can have you fired. I would hate to work at that, or I would hate to work at that network because you can't have an opinion that's dissenting. It's like NBC. NBC and the NFL Network are a prime example of not having dissenting views. And that makes them non-credible. Hey, the argument of debate and the art of debate done tactfully is okay. But when you silence one side, you don't really have a true dialogue. And the NFL Network is controlled by that. So why wouldn't they control what you think and hear when it comes to your local markets? Especially WIP. It's a great example of it. You think WIP can come out and say anything? They can't. So when it comes to Eagle content, it's not credible. Not like it used to be. NFL's a powerful engine now in communications. Okay? Or it could be that she used a bad source and the story was, in fact, not true. Since when do you remember reporters apologizing? They didn't even apologize when they destroyed those Duke lacrosse case people's lives. That turned out to be a fantasy. I don't remember anybody coming to the defense of the lacrosse kids that their lives were destroyed. CNN and everybody across the board destroyed those guys. The point is, LJ, I don't remember people apologizing in media. But all of a sudden, this woman had to apologize. Whether the story's, and I said it, LJ, whether the story's fair or not, or true or not, reporters don't apologize, do they? Has anybody heard anybody apologize for the 4 years of torture we went through for that Russian hoax? Has anybody apologized for that? Taxpayer money, all those hearings. And by the way, it's not about what side of the aisle. It's about spreading bullshit. Nobody apologizes. But now you got Colleen Wolfe, who said something about Woody Johnson, who got his panties in a bind. Makes me think it is true now. Okay? Why would the media apologize for propaganda? well, then you're not really a journalist. You should state that. You should state that. Hey, that's what I do. Hey, man, I'm not a journalist. You guys all know that. I'm not a journalist. I would never want to be, because you have to constantly lie to yourself that you're fair and balanced. I'm not fair and balanced. I have an opinion. I'm more of an op-ed guy. At least you know where I stand. When somebody parades themselves as a journalist, and like NBC parades itself as a journalistic network. They're not. It's a propaganda network. Same as Fox. Absolutely. And I remember them then saying that he had a bone bruise on his right knee. He never was on the injured reserve, Jalen Hurts. Okay? We've been trying to get you to apologize for some of your terrible Eagle takes for years now. Which one was that? That Dean sucked? That Jalen would never throw for 4,000 yards? Which one was that, LJ? That he never throw for 30 touchdowns? Which one was it? That Jordan Davis would never be a 3-down D lineman? That your football team wouldn't make it to the NFC Championship game? Let's see, which one? I forget which one you're talking about. That I picked you to go to the Super Bowl one year? Okay. Sills has an opinion. What? Listen to, look at, oh my God. Hey, Lord, I would like to rate. Hey, LJ, is this going to be every Easter? Hey, listen, look at LJ, what he's doing. LJ, man, you know what hey, look at this guy here. You know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to give him those crappy, rabbits, those things you get for Easter. I can't stand them. Those marshmallow rabbits. I hate those. Once a year, settle down. I'm not fine. Hey, how about Christmas too, dude? The Peeps, they suck. They're as bad as the Halloween candy corns. I can't stand the Halloween candy corns too. They stink too. Yeah, those Peeps stink. They're nasty, man. All right. Hey, Hurts was hurt, and we saw it. No, he wasn't. He wasn't hurt, Marcus. No, he wasn't. You're making an excuse up for him. So wait a minute now. Here's the excuses. Team defense sucked. Offensive coordinator sucked. He's hurt. Damn. Couldn't you use the same thing? I mean, defense sucked. The OC sucked. He was hurt. Head coach sucked. GM made a bad move. Oh, man. I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 6 excuses for Jalen. Pretty cool, man. 6 excuses. We're getting someplace. Did you not see him run? He was slower after the knee. Never on IR. Once. Didn't miss a game. I don't know what to tell you. Okay? The devil made those Peeps. Whew, they're terrible, man. All right. I want to show you something here before we get Schilling on here. Who do you think is on a hot seat more? Mike McCarthy or Nick Sirianni? Schilling was playing hurt with a cadaver in his Achilles. Okay? Schilling played hurt. No. Marcus, who's on the hot seat more? Mike McCarthy, who's going into a year in the final year of his contract as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. McCarthy, I don't see getting fired in the middle of the season like I can Nick. McCarthy, I don't see getting fired in the middle of the season. Nick's the first one off the ship if the shit goes wrong. You know what? And by the way, I'm not going to say anything about it yet until I see the schedule. Okay? I bet if both suck this season, both will be fired. McCarthy, both. Here's why I say Nick, too. You think Jerry's really going to fire Mike McCarthy? Jason Garrett lasted 10 years. Mike McCarthy's won 36 ball games, too. Nick has gotten to a Super Bowl. I get it. But get this. The Eagle brass don't think that is a reason to keep him. They almost fired him. If you listen to the owner of the Eagles, he was almost forcefully telling you, we had a lot of conversations with everyone, players, assistants, everyone that we could talk to on what the proper direction was for us moving forward. Nick came in and sold us, and he had a better interview with us than what Doug Peterson was. That's why, again, I called it bizarre. So he had a better interview than what Doug did, and you fired the better coach and kept the lesser coach because he was better than what I was like, man. So one guy is better in an interview than the other guy, and that was the reason you kept him? Not because you thought he was a good coach, but because you thought he could go along more. That's not a reason to keep anybody. I mean, that's not a reason at all to keep anyone. Is that true, Senor? I didn't know Jason Garrett married Jerry's daughter. I didn't know that. When did that go down? Yeah, I didn't know that. I'm going to have to ask Steven that. And he still fired him? Hey, at least you know the old man wants to win. Hey, I love you. You can have my daughter, but you can't have my Cowboys. Think about what that guy did. Think about what Jerry did. Hey, you want my daughter? Look at here. I'm going to give you my daughter as a consolation prize here and some compensation on the way out the door. You can have my daughter. You can't have my team. I'm going to get me a new head coach, and I just gained me a son-in-law. Congratulations. How you doing? That's some way, hey, man. Interesting point. I thought the Eagles were in a bad spot because it's a bad atmosphere when a coach is coaching for his job, but it's the same in both Philly and Dallas, so it evens out. Slagger, I think it's a better place for players to come and play in Philly. They spend money on free agency. They spend money. The excuses are like Easter baskets. Okay? The Easter basket grass. They're always popping up, and you can never really get rid of them. Absolutely, James. Absolutely. Love it, my friends. Fantastic. Hey, don't forget, at 4:30, we're going to have Dallas Diamond Page. And we're going to talk to him. Diamond Dallas, DDP. We're going to get him on at 4:30. He's got a great workout for athletes who are struggling. You should see what in the shape that Butterbean's in. He's in horrible shape too. So we'll have him on. DDP will be with us at 4:30. I love what they're doing with those A&E series when it comes to the WWE wrestlers. But I think if you can name – hey, you know what? I never thought of saying this about Curt Schilling, but he was kind of a WWE wrestler on the mound. Hey, Schilling was like a bulldog. Wasn't he, man, on the mound? Opening day, I can't tell you how many times I would go to the old Yankee Stadium. I don't know if Curt ever pitched in the old one because he was in the National League. I don't know if he ever pitched at the old one. The original one was like pea yellow. And then the new one came up, and I used to go to all those opening games. The Yankees stunk back in the mid-'70s, too. They stunk. The Mets were the better team, actually. But opening day, man, there's nothing like it in sports. I still think it's the best ticket in baseball, and truly one of the legendary guys in the history of the sport is our friend Curt Schilling. He helps us here open up opening day in honor of it. Curt, how you doing, brother?
What's up, my friend? How are you?
Good, man. So great to see you.
Long time no talk.
Is it still important, opening day?
In what sense?
To the importance of the sport, or has it been diluted because it used to be such a big deal?
Right. Yeah, it's not what it used to be, for sure, right? Because it used to be Cincinnati on Sunday.
Yes.
Right. And
always Cincy.
Yep. And all that entailed. I think it's what's changed, obviously. I don't know about importance. I think it's true baseball fans, that's the day you wait for, because in spring training, first day of camp, you ask every fan of every team, you're going to find some idiot that says, you know what, yeah, the Royals have a chance to win it all this year. And it's kind of the beauty of the sport, and we've had enough instances of teams coming out of nowhere that everybody's, in September, the last 2 weeks of the season, there's maybe 8 markets watching baseball. All 32 are watching in April, right? All 30, yeah. And so, I from an important, all 30, it's 30, right? Yeah, 30. It's going to be 32 soon, by the way.
Yep.
But yeah, it's still got its thing. I remember yesterday I was thinking about it, how different. I was thinking about, I was sitting down in my barn with a lot of my baby chickens, and I was thinking to myself, wow, like life couldn't be farther, because I had 6 or 7 opening day starts, and that was when the everything changed. You flip the switch in a sense. And so, it was for me, it was the thing that kept me playing for 20 years, that adrenaline. And it's also the thing that made me retire, which was that fear of failure. I eventually got tired of that. And I was thinking about it, like I said, when I was with my chickens the other day, and I was like, my goodness, I wouldn't want to be any place else in the world, but God, that was fun.
Man, and you gave us a lot of thrills. I mean, let me take you to the Phillies here as they open up. They didn't open yesterday, so they're opening today here. Let me ask you, Curt, when you look at winning a division, it seems that these guys are talking about wanting to win the National League East. Right. And yet you look at what the Marlins did. The Marlins have never won a National League East, and they've won 2 World Series,
right,
not having won their division. Is that a big deal or not a big deal?
It's a big deal a goal? Until it isn't. It's a big deal until you can't, right? It's for a team like Philadelphia, Mr. Middleton, the owner, who, by the way, is a phenomenal human being. I said it, and I might have told you this a couple years ago. I thought the biggest offseason signing 5 or 6 years ago was Zach Wheeler. I thought I'm in love with the arm. I love the makeup. But for the Phillies, it's about, you want to get to the last week of October with a healthy roster and Nola and Wheeler at the top of your rotation. Because those 2 guys that changes the outlook. No one wants to play no one wants to play the Phillies. And, I don't care if you're the Braves with Strider and whatever. You've seen wild cards. You watched the Diamondbacks last year. Give me a hot couple starters and the thing changes. The Braves are just so good, and a lot of the same. They need to get into late September with Acuna healthy and Strider, and I mean, Chris Sale's the big question mark over there. I think he's going to have a really good year. But does a really good year him making 26 starts, or is it really good year him making 14 starts, right? And the Phillies have the same kind of question mark. You always have question on pitching, but I love the Phillies. I love their makeup. I love everything about it. There's a Bryce Harper to Philadelphia attachment that is just, he's the face of that franchise, and I think he's a good face. And I'm excited for Philly fans.
Do you think they're a 100-win team?
Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Why?
Well, I'll go back to it. Nola and Wheeler. And if, you're talking 2 out of those 5 guys, but if any of the other guys, and they have the arms, Suarez and a couple other guys have the arms to do, if you get 1 or 2 other guys, here's what I would tell you. If the Phillies get 130 to 40 starts out of their opening day 5, they have a legit chance.
That means taking down the Braves, right?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. They're going to have to. But that's, if you go back eons, 30 years ago, the 93 Phillies, we made 61 of 162 starts, just those 5 starters. And I always say that's a metric. If you're going to gamble, you want to gamble on the team that's going to get the most starts from their opening day 5. And I think they're in a position to do that. Like I said, I have a couple prop bets on Zach Wheeler to win the Cy Young. And you've got your, I can say this because I'm now canceled anyway. You've got your white David Ortiz in Bryce Harper, who is not, that's a guy who was built to be at the plate in the 9th inning of a playoff game. And so, it's, you definitely want to get in, and you want to get into a series. You don't want to be the play-in game or any of that crap, because then you spend Wheeler on a game and it costs you in the postseason. But I love them. If, again, like everything else, if they stay healthy, I love them to be in the postseason. If they're in the postseason, all bets are off because they have the pitching to go.
Do you think Trey Turner has to play MVP baseball for that 100-win season? No?
No. I got to tell you, that was one of my favorite stories last year in all of baseball. The Philly fans doing something so unlike Philly fans. And instead of turning and spitting and throwing batteries at them, I think there was an enormous sea change because of that. Philly fans have always, and like Red Sox fans, like Yankee fans, they've always prided themselves on being dicks, right? They've always prided themselves. And, I know for a fact that they get into the heads of opposing players. And for them to do what they did for Trey, number one, and then it was on him. And he did, that turnaround was awesome. And I those are one of the things that I hold dear and close to my heart about sports, is that it gives you moments like that nothing else can.
The bullpen, is it the best in the National League?
No, it's April. No. Here's the thing. No, and I say that with all due respect. Here's the thing. The one thing in addition to many other things, I've watched in the last 30 years, Tampa Bay Rays and Theo Epstein taught me that you can rebuild your bullpen every single year and have an elite bullpen. If you go back and look at consistency, the most inconsistent player on the baseball field is the relief pitcher. How else can you have Fernando Rodney saving 60 games with a 0.6 ERA 1 year, and the next year he's got a 4 ERA and it's same stuff, right? So that goes back. No team enters the season with a 25-man roster. If you're going to be in the postseason, you got to have 6 to 10 guys in AAA, right? 6 to 10 guys. That's where the GMs make their money. You've got that guy who he might be a 4A player, but he'll take a split contract with you because of his chance to be somebody. And recognizing, obviously a lot of it's changed now with the DH, right? Because the National League doesn't have, there's no need for the deep bench and the pinch hitters and all the things go with that. But if you look at the AAA situation with regards to pitching, period, nothing else, with regards to pitching, do you have 5 arms down there because you're not going to have an 11, 12-man staff the whole year. You're going to have a 16 to 18-man staff. Do you have those 3 to 5 arms in AAA that can come up and get outs in the big leagues? If you do, you're good to go. And then it gets back to, that's cyclical. There's nothing harder on a team than losing a game in the 9th inning. Nothing. There's nothing harder on a team than losing a game that you have a late lead in the 9th inning. Those things, I can tell you, are the one very few things I think in baseball carry over from a momentum perspective. That's one of them. Losing late game. Watch your one run score games. What the difference is there. But watch the lead on or after the seventh. If you start losing those games early in the year, you tend to not be able to get it back, because now you've got 6 or 7 guys down there without an established guy who's going to get the ball in the ninth inning, because, baseball's reinvented itself. Guys are bringing their closer in the seventh to close the game, and all the other things go with that. But when you have a bullpen that has some guys blowing it and the phone rings, everybody's kind of nervous about it being them. And that's something that steamrolls and carries over. And that gets back to leadership in the clubhouse. And, I had some of the greatest leaders ever in the history of the game that stuff wasn't allowed to happen. They stopped it.
Curt, you mentioned Theo Epstein, and I happen to know Dave Dombrowski from when I was down in South Florida.
Right.
At Larry
I know Dave.
Fest down there.
Yep.
And I'll tell you something about him. You talk about a savant on talent, knowing guys. Look at what he did in Detroit. Look at what he did in Boston. Look at what he's doing now in Philly. How important is a guy like that that's just not an analytics guy? He's a guy that looks at
Dave
pretty much
Dombrowski
everything.
Is very old school, but he's the old school guy who bought into analytics. And in my mind, he's like Terry became Francona. You have to be a mix.
Yeah.
And that was the thing for me. I still think Theo was the smartest baseball front office mind I've ever met, and by a wide margin. And I can remember.
Hey, Curt, I like this guy Andrew Friedman in LA now too.
Well, yeah. Well, look what he did in Tampa, right?
Yeah.
This guy's a winner. He knows. But that's a guy who marries the two things together. Yep. And for the most part, will give. You remember in Moneyball when Billy Beane came down and told Art Howe, play this guy, start this guy. I didn't realize that was such a prevalent thing. But some of these teams have general managers going down to the manager and saying, all right, these 3 guys in the bullpen, not available tonight. And fans don't see that. Fans don't know that. But I think that's overstepping, right? I think because you trust the manager to translate the analytics. And that's what these new managers, for the most part, are doing. And Dave is an old school GM who bought into, okay, the analytics is going to help make me better. The difference is, I've always viewed Dave as very scorched earth GM. When he leaves a place, they generally aren't going to be winning. Because that's his right. He's getting paid to win. So those unbelievably talented A-ball prospects who are 4 years off, they're walking dollar signs at the deadline for him. He's going to move those guys. And you look at a lot of his older trades, he's moving on some seriously talented young players, because in his mind, they don't mean anything to me if we don't win this year. I'm losing my job.
Why are the Braves such a dynamic organization? And Curt, does it go back to the fact that they really don't invest in positional players? They can move off of Freeman. They could move off of a Pendleton. They can move off of anything. But when it comes to starting pitching, man, they invest in draft choices, player development, all of that stuff. It just seems that is the one difference between them and teams that spend money on position players. They spend it in the arms.
Right. There's 2 schools of thought, and they're literally polar opposites. Theo Epstein, I did some stuff over the last 10, 15 years for the draft for a bunch of different teams. And I remember talking to Theo about pitching, and Theo's philosophy eventually became, I'm not drafting pitchers. I'm going to draft the best, most pro-ready bats I can find, and I'm going to buy my pitching. Let somebody else take the risk. And I thought that was kind of a genius approach. Now, if you've got personnel in place that know pitching, know how to scout pitching, and clearly the Braves do that, and they have that, that's a constant, right? And so you play to your strengths. And ultimately, as a leader, your job is to put your people in the best position to succeed. So your baseball ops people, your scouts, you either put good ones in place and trust them or not. And it's no coincidence that for 70 years, the Cardinals, every player the Cardinals call up to the big leagues is a professional ready baseball player, right? The Orioles for generations had the Oriole way. And, a lot of teams understand, and that was the thing, like I said, that I saw a transition in Theo from, I think he was a very hardcore, a guy who might have just done the draft his first couple of years on analytics alone. I'm looking at players to in 04 and then in 07, understanding there was a piece of this that they don't, Yale and Harvard and Ivy League schools can't teach you about clubhouse chemistry, and it's real. And when they see that, they can't quantify that. That bothers a lot of them because they can't put their finger on it. But you saw what he did in Chicago. He went and got David Ross, right? He did, and you saw in 2004, there were some clubhouse issues with some players who were very ambiguous about whether they were going to play or not. Gone. Get rid of them and bring players in here who want to be here, want to play, and all that other stuff. And then, so you see that. I think you see that in GMs. And to this day, I was around a lot of smart people, but as far as baseball minds, John Farrell and Theo Epstein were some of the smartest human beings I've ever been around.
You mentioned something, and I'm very good friends with Gary Templeton. And when Gary Templeton was in St. Louis and he came up through St. Louis, Curt, he said when he got to A-ball with the Cardinals, then he got to AA, then he got to AAA. And when he got to the big leagues, he goes, nothing was different. They taught us everything about clubhouse, how you're supposed to act as a Cardinal at every level. Like he goes, some organizations today, you'll have such a different dichotomy from A-ball, manager wants to do it this way. Then you have another at AAA, you have a guy doing it another way. He goes, this is why Houston is becoming, because I forget the guy's name, but he came down from St. Louis, the guy that was just fired. He ran Walt, I forget his name, Walt. He was the Cardinal guy, and they implemented that down there in Houston.
Was it
and
JAKIB?
Everybody had the same way. That's when you truly got a great organization.
Well, see, I've always said, you give me a minor league organization, I can build you the deepest, most talented pitching prospects in history, because my pitchers, when they get to the big leagues, the plate's 60 feet 6 inches away from the mound at 17. That the only variable are the asses in the seats, and that's a plus. It's always a plus. But there's a reason why. I've always said this. If you look around sports, and I don't have to tell you this because you've experienced it, when you look around sports and an organization like the Jets sucks for 4 decades, the players turn over every year. The scouts and coaches turn over every year. The only thing that stays the same is ownership. Look at the Red Sox. Look at the Redskins. Dan Snyder turned that into an absolute cluster. And that's why they made mistake after mistake after mistake. Good. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, born and raised. The Steelers have been good for 50 years. And there's a reason, because the Steelers have the Steeler way. The Patriots became a team no one cared about in 2000. To every single human being on the planet outside of New England hated them because they won every year, and it was all about setting up an environment that all the athletes buy into. It's one way or the highway, and if you don't fit, you're gone.
Hey, Curt, get this with you, since you're a Steeler fan. Think about this. I mentioned this yesterday to Barry Switzer, and I said this because he brought up something about the Steelers. I go, there's been more popes and presidents since 1969 than the Steelers have had head coaches. They had Noel, they had Cowher, and now they've got Tomlin. There's a reason why they've got the most Super Bowl wins.
Well, I have Joanne Rooney is a very dear friend, and the Rooneys, the Rooneys have always been about the Steelers. They understand the point of pride that the Pittsburgh Steelers bring to that city, and they take it seriously. And God rest his soul, Peter Angelos destroyed the Oriole franchise. I thought what he did to that franchise was criminal, because you're talking about one of the best markets on the planet for sports and baseball especially. And all he had to do was put a competitive team out there, and they would have filled that place forever. And
Curt, when I was a kid, I don't ever remember the Orioles not being good. And then when that guy took over,
he ruined them.
It was a shit show. I
Yeah,
mean,
he
I
ruined them.
couldn't believe that that's the organization of Ken Singleton and Brooks
Ripken and
Robinson,
Murray and
Jim
Palmer
Palmer, and all
yeah,
them
I mean,
guys.
yeah,
Cuellar.
embarrassing. It was
It just
embarrassing.
completely destroyed it there. Let me ask you one last Philly question here. Does it concern you? You're looking at a ball team that could possibly lead the National League in home runs, that's where they get the majority of their offense. And that's not really a small ball team where they're going to manufacture runs. You're either going to knock this ball and make souvenirs, or you're not going to win ball games. I mean, they're a big fly team, Curt. Are
Right.
you concerned?
But if you have World Series expectations, they will figure out how to win small ball games.
Okay.
Right? Because first of all, their pitching is going to keep them in, right? And so you've got bunting is not a thing anymore. So, but running is.
Yes.
Stolen bases have gone through the roof. So you teach your pitchers that they, holding runner. And the dynamics have changed so much. With the way pitchers throw nowadays, I would much rather be a home run team than not. There's no pitchers in the big leagues anymore. They're throwers. These guys are throwers. And when you have a thrower on the mound, you don't have to protect the plate until there's 2 strikes. I always look like against me, every pitch I threw, the hitter was anticipating a strike.
So you think the art of pitching's gone?
Oh, it's tremendously different than it was even 10 years ago. Because there's a
Is that by design?
I think it's by the focus on velocity has taken pitching away from the game. And if you all you have to do, if you want to understand pitching, watch the catcher's glove during a game. Watch how far he has to move his glove on fastballs. And it's what I call command and control, right? Everybody in the big leagues, for the most part, has control. Control is the ability to throw strikes. Everybody can do that in the big leagues. Command is the ability to manipulate the ball in 6-inch increments around the strike zone. That's why Jacob deGrom was doing things no one had ever seen before. Because I always looked at him as he had as good a command as I ever had at 100 miles an hour. And that's you can't hit that. You can't defend that. There's no and pitchers when you see them nowadays. Catcher sets up on the outside corner, catcher catches the ball in the outside corner, or he catches the ball off the plate. He doesn't reach across to catch a ball in the inside part of the plate because the guy overthrew it.
Curt, I miss guys like you and Pedro and guys like that where you owned half the plate, batter owned half the plate.
No, I owned in my mind, I owned all the plate in the sense that, because I knew where, blue and red, right? Hot and cold.
Yeah.
I knew where all your blue spots were. And you know what? I could hit a gnat in the ass at 60 feet. So if your blue spot's 12 inches by 6 inches, that's like trying to throw a ball in hit the Titanic. Yeah, right. For me, in my mind. And so I'm going to keep throwing. And it, hitters are the dumbest athletes on the planet. And it takes them a while to adjust. And, professional athletes, same way. You get to the NFL doing things a certain way. It's very hard to get off that or to be taught differently because you've always had success.
It's a comfort zone.
Right. And, Greg Maddux would win as many games today as he did when he pitched. And he's throwing the ball 89, 90.
Would he with the computerized home plate? Would he still win even though they had a fatter black for him?
Well, but hold on a second. He only threw, and I did the same thing. If you're going to call a ball a strike, I'm throwing that pitch again. I don't have to have it, but I'll take it. Right? That's why I said if they go to computerized strike zone, you will have seen your last 300 hitter.
I don't think you're ever going to see a 300 winner again.
No, 300 hitter.
Yeah, but Curt, I don't think.
No. I mean, Verlander, I think there's a couple guys with an outside shot. But no, I don't think from in this current generation of young pitchers, none of these guys are going to 300 games because none of them are in so many more no decisions because, they do go 6 and they're done. And it's not their fault. It's the game's fault. And, I think it's lost one of our things that we grew up with, which was that starting pitcher matchup. Oh, my God. It's Ryan against Seaver. Well, now
I've seen that.
Oh, my God. It's Strider against Wheeler for 5 2/3.
I'm with you. I have to ask you. your opinion on Shohei Ohtani and your thoughts on Curt. I got to tell you, and this is coming from a media guy, so know
Yeah.
this, okay? This is a story that could either help baseball, hurt baseball. To me, is there too much outrage? How do you see this game? He's not just a normal player.
No,
He's a world star because of the Japan connection here.
he might be the most talented baseball player
I've ever seen.
that's ever played the game. He's better than Babe Ruth didn't do his pitching and hitting at the same time.
He didn't.
Right? This guy is, when he's on the mound, he's arguably the best pitcher in the big leagues that day. And when he's hitting, he's one of the best.
I've never seen anything like this. I mean, I think he's the best ball player I've ever seen, and I thought Bonds.
There's never been anything like it. I got to tell you, I don't know him. I love the guy. I love everything about him. I have, in my heart of hearts, I have absolutely unequivocally no doubt in my mind that was his money.
Yeah.
And his gambling.
And his decisions, right?
I think absolutely. There's no way a bookie extends a $4.5 million line of credit to a guy making $80,000 a year. There's no way. And so
you hear what Pete Rose said? Rose goes, I wish I had an interpreter.
Well, here's the thing, and Pete Rose, whatever. The fact of the matter is, this none of this really matters if he didn't bet on baseball. If he bet on baseball, I could see baseball paying billions of dollars to not have that get out.
Oh, so you think baseball's going to do everything it can to protect Shohei Ohtani?
This is the biggest star in the world in baseball. One of the probably 5 most recognizable athletes in existence. Baseball has always been shooting itself in the foot when it comes to public-facing decision-making. And in this day and age, but I mean, Pete Rose, listen, I don't know if the same thing in the NFL, but in every clubhouse I went into from the day I signed to the day I retired, on the front door of every clubhouse from Elmira, New York to New York City was the gambling rule.
There's a sign that has a football player that is in the doorway, and it says gambling is prohibited
Lifetime
in
ban.
every single facility
Lifetime
in the
ban.
National Football League.
Yep. And so Pete Rose turned out to be kind of a degenerate, unfortunately. I mean, he was every bit that whole Philadelphia thing when he came back. He could have done so much good, and he
didn't work at it, did he?
Well,
Kurt, want to get back in?
He's not a nice guy. And here's the thing: I love Pete. I roomed with Pete Rose Jr.
We get him on here.
And I like Pete, and I think Pete is one of the greatest baseball players that ever lived. But socially, he's just not a good guy. He doesn't, unfortunately, Lenny Dykstra to me was Pete in many ways, and I love Lenny to death. But socially, it's so uncomfortable. Who calls a woman broad?
Hey, wait, Kurt, get this. My aunt doesn't really get in the way of guests getting on my show. And I've had him on. My aunt says that if that guy ever comes on again, she said she's going to disown me because he was disgusting when he came on. Right. And by the way, I know Lenny.
Right.
I know he's just not a socially graceful guy. And if you don't,
if
you know that, you've got to tolerate that. But
there's no excuse to talk to other human beings that way. None. And like I said, I love Lenny. And Lenny was very good to me. And Lenny made his own bed and he's laying in it, and all the things go with that. But him and Pete were very similar socially.
Absolutely. Kurt, predictions here a little bit here. Do you do that stuff when it comes to baseball, or do you wait to the halfway point before you really have?
So I'll give, I like to bet a little bit now and then. So I do a lot of prop betting. And I've actually turned out to be decent at it. I've hit some pretty big props. And I'll just side note, the year that the Patriots and Falcons played, I had preseason prop bets on Matt Ryan to win the MVP, to win the Offensive Player of the Year, on the Falcons to win the NFC, and the Falcons to win the Super Bowl. So at halftime of the Super Bowl, I was looking at about a $500,000 payday. And I was in New England, so I'm kind of rooting for the Patriots. And then as it's unfolding, I'm like, oh my God, this is actually going to happen. They're going to actually lose this, but I don't know. Like I picked the Lions. I had a prop on the Lions win the Super Bowl last year. I know you've had this. There's things that just when you see them, your gut, something happens. You're like, okay. And I feel like that with players. So,
Yeah.
I did a lot of the prop betting this year around that. But the problem is that, here we are at ESPN. We're going to go to our DraftKings reporter to tell us about the Shohei Ohtani story. Meanwhile, here's a message from FanDuel and sponsored by MGM. And,
hey, Curt, I have to ask you this. Do you think your politics get in the way, and has it gotten into the way of your relationships with some of the former teams that you performed with that, because again, they're a company that's there to try to, they're companies of commerce.
Right.
And they always have to look at the bottom line.
Right.
And not so much at what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
So they may side on the side of money over right and wrong. And even though behind the scenes, they still may be your friend, but does it bug you that because of the cancel culture today, that you've been theoretically canceled in many aspects? Again, when this, I know that I brought it up with you numerous times, and you don't care because I think you've resigned to the fact of the Hall of Fame. But I mean, Curt, hey, Dan, let's think about it makes me vomit that you've done and the accolades you have to where you are right now in your life.
Well, think about this. If you go back to the beginning of this whole cancel culture, I was the kickoff. I was the first person. I was the first guy the cancel culture canceled because I had the audacity to compare terrorists to Nazis. And I said you had to have a penis to pee in the men's room. And I said Hillary Clinton was a criminal. I've never said anything racist in my life. And the players those things don't hide themselves in a professional athlete because you're in clubhouses. If you're that guy, if you're John Rocker, it comes out. And the thing, so in a sense, no, because all of the people that know me. I mean, I've got a couple things I'll take to my grave, and most assuredly, the situation around the Wakefields was devastating to me, and because of what happened and how it happened, and
that was ugly, Curt.
Well, hold on. I was involved in the sense that my wife and Stacy were communicating consistently, and I was talking to Tim, and I was texting him and talking to him, and all the things that go with it. I didn't find out from somebody else. I had no idea that the people that in their lives that didn't know. None of that matters because that's on me. It's 100% on me. And they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I had, as a Christian, as a man of God, I wanted a real quick story. In 2004, before I went out to pitch the first Bloody Sock game, I had come down into the clubhouse and I was getting ready to go out the field, and I stopped Tim and another teammate, and I asked them to pray with me. Just not to win, but just to compete. I mean, those are the moments I carried with me. The thought that I might have caused even a second of discomfort or displeasure or anger in their lives, especially at that time, devastates me. It's my fault, 100%. But it wasn't what the media reported and the idiots of the world. I just randomly did this.
Why did it get taken so out of context then by others?
Because I didn't come out to defend myself, number one, and I wasn't going to, and number two, because of my political beliefs. I'm a conservative. It's open season on me. And, people say, oh, he runs his mouth to me. I run my mouth how I want to run my mouth. I've never said anything racist. I don't do anything racist. I'm not homophobic. I'm not any of that stuff. But you wouldn't know that if you Googled my Wikipedia page. I mean, it's a concerted thing. And I didn't realize it all happened when I supported President Bush in 2004, the day after the World Series. That's when it all began. I didn't know that John Henry and the ownership of the Red Sox would go to the lengths they did to try and make me pay for that at the end of my career. and I've forgiven them, but I'll never forget what they did. And that, to get back to it, the regret I have over possibly causing discomfort to the Wakefields at what had to be one of the most tragic times of their lives is gut wrenching to me, and I'll take it to my grave. But I forever.
I completely 1000% know that there's not a chance in hell when you have a teammate and you have someone who passes away days later after you said that. I knew right away there's not a chance in hell this is true. It was taken out of context by the media idiots, especially the warriors on social media. I completely believed you 100%.
The problem for me was, Dan, Tim was a very good friend of mine.
I've heard I've heard people say that about you guys and that entire team. You know what Terry Francona told me? Terry Francona's like this: not a chance in hell. Curt Schilling loved that guy.
Right. But again, I said earlier, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Intentions are irrelevant. When you hurt someone else in that sense, especially somebody you love and you care about and you're friends with. I was devastated when he passed, like everybody else. And I stayed away from the service for that reason. And that's why I'm not going to the ceremony this year, because I don't want the ceremony to be anything but about the Wakefields in the 2014.
How's your relationship with the Red Sox?
Oh no, I don't have one. I haven't had one. I won't ever have one, probably until the ownership changes. Like I said, they did some.
May I ask, Curt, why?
Yeah, they I don't know if you remember when Terry got booted out of Boston, they put out rumors about his addiction to opioids and all this other stuff. In 2008, I signed in that offseason prior to them, and I was hurt. And they tried to tell me that I lied to them and I got a contract knowing I was hurt. And then they threatened to do some of the things they did to Terry if I didn't rearrange my contract and restructure it. And I sat across the table and looked them in the face and said, you sit up here in this ivory tower, you have no idea the things that we do and the sacrifices that we make. And, 3 years ago, we were hugging in the locker room after the greatest comeback in history. And this is where I fall. You're going to do this to my family? Looked them right in the face. Those cowards had not a single word to say to me in response. They didn't even say anything. And I remember, I think, not being relieved, but knowing I felt like Theo was really upset about the whole situation. He didn't think I deserved it. But he couldn't say anything because he's the general manager. But and again, as a Christian, it was one of the things I realized I'm getting better in my faith. I forgive him. I'll never forget, but I forgive him.
Who's kinder to you, the Boston media or the Philly media?
Oh, both media suck. They're horrible. They're both. I mean, some of the worst hacks in existence work in those two markets. I mean, they're and I know that because I'm on the other side of their lies. I know that's how I know. I know when they write things about me, if they're lying or not, and they lie. And I've realized that guys like Dan Shaughnessy and Marcus Hayes and these guys, they're the guys that use the anonymous teammate to make shit up. And it took me a while to figure that out. But
I hate those guys.
Well, but here's the thing. Do you really think?
And I used to like Dan.
Right. No, Dan's the first class ass clown. But do you really think a teammate is going to confide in Dan Shaughnessy? No. And the fans can't see that.
But you know what the fans think? The fans hear a guy go, I was talking to a player.
Right.
No, you weren't.
Right.
No, you weren't, because every player knows you're angling for a story. And if that player doesn't know that, you're going to know it real soon.
Well, the problem is that the Tim Kirchens and the Jason Starks of the world are so few and far between. Truly good-hearted people who love the sport. And, everybody, the transition became full-fledged when the media started trying to become part of the story instead of report the story.
That's right.
And here's
you're
the thing.
taught in Broadcasting 101.
It's another reason why the Hall of Fame thing doesn't hurt me. Dan Shaughnessy's in the Hall of Fame. I mean, I guess if I had a kid out of wedlock and I lied about people, then I would be a character guy. Like, that guy's going to judge my character? Give me a break.
I can't stand that Boston media, man. They're
not good at their jobs. They're all, and Boston is a shock market. It's about headlines. I mean, you look at some of the radio shows up there. I can't remember Tony Maserati and they're quote unquote experts. They're not experts at shit. I know 100,000 fans that know more about the sport than they do. But people think since they're in the locker room, they're experts. Players aren't clamoring to speak to these guys. You have
Absolutely. Absolutely. Curt, I love you, man. I want to thank you so much for always finding time. Go back to the chickens. Have a great life, my friend.
Hey.
I love the fact you're betting. Thank you.
I love you. I miss you. It's always great to hear your voice, and I'm a guest anytime you want me for baseball.
Thank you so much, Curt Schilling. You are a dear friend.
And then, hey, I'm going to hit you up before my fantasy football draft, too.
Got you, my friend. I appreciate you coming aboard. Thank you. The legendary Curt Schilling. God, I love that guy, man. What an absolutely spectacular career. Do me a favor. Please hit the like button here. We just had a trade, and it's Hassan Reddick going to the New York Jets. Zaner, do we have any particulars? Isn't it funny? Where was he traded to the Jets? Was he traded to the Jets, if I may ask? Because I was just talking with Curt. That was really awesome. He was traded to where? Reddick to the Jets. Okay. So wait a minute. They trade you Bryce Huff. They turn around and sign Hassan Reddick. Eagles are sending edge rusher Hassan Reddick to the New York Jets for a conditional third-round pick. Good. That could turn into a second. The 2026 pick becomes a second if Reddick has 67.5% of playing time this season and has 10 or more sacks. If not, it's a third round in 2023. Wow. All right. This is peculiar. The Jets got the better player. Today, on March 29th, by the way, the reason that this deal had to be consummated, on Saturday, his roster bonus was due. So he had to get that roster bonus on Saturday, and this is why they moved him before the April 1st deadline. Let me give you my spin on this here. The Jets got the better ball player. The Jets won the trade. The Jets have already won. Okay? This is absolutely one of the worst moves I've ever seen Howie Roseman make. Okay? They absolutely traded the lesser player away, and they got a guy who didn't start in New York, and you now have on your football team the lesser guy for more money. Bryce Huff is not Hassan Reddick. They didn't want to spend the additional money. Do you guys understand what they did? They didn't upgrade the defense. They downgraded the defense, and they moved money over. They moved money over. You don't have an upgrade. You have a lesser football player. The New York Jets got the better end of this move. You signed Bryce Huff to a $17.8 million deal for a guy who didn't start in New York. You turn around and then trade Hassan Reddick to the Jets because you didn't want to spend $20 million. Big Sills, they traded my dog Reddick. This is a horrible decision A shit downgrade. Your defense is downgraded. You traded your best player on that side of the ball for a guy who's unproven. That entire defense will be the worst defense. My prediction, you're going to be one of the low-end defenses in this league this year. You have just shown me you have no understanding of how to build a defensive football team. You will have one of the worst defenses in pro football. Mark my words. You got rid of your better player because you didn't want to pay anybody. And you went out and you signed a guy who's a one-year wonder. What a loser move. What a loser move. I don't get it. You're praying, and Howie Roseman, even at the owner meetings, said that this was going to be a projection. Howie basically traded Reddick for Huff and a 3 or possibly a 2. The Eagles think Reddick on downswing, an arrow up for Huff. How could you think that Hassan Reddick's arrow was heading down and Huff's up based off of what? 1 year? A 2026 conditional. Pathetic. I hate this move. What an absolutely horseshit move. They don't give a crap. Dude, that's not championship football moves. They signed a lesser player. What did I tell you guys? Remember when I told you they were doing everything in their power to get the player out of the building? This began last year. Now you have to rely on Nolan Smith. Do you understand what you're doing here too? That means you have to think that Nolan Smith is going to take a role on this team and give you Hassan Reddick numbers. Jesus, you think you're at the White House here with the Friday news dump. What would propel you to do this? What would propel you to make one of the absolute, if not the worst move in the last 3 years? What would make you do this? I mean, what's the point here? Why are you going cheap, Big Sills? This is a huge L. Howie, L for sure. What an absolutely shitty move. You get rid of a player who's your best defensive player, and he's 29 years old because you didn't want to pay him. You talk about cheapskates. It must be because the Yachman needed some money for a dinghy. Dude, your football team's cheap when it comes to defensive players. How we doing? Edge at 22, Sills? Yeah. Chop Robinson. Yeah. This makes no sense. You got less experienced. You're not as good. Even with Adam Schefter reporting this, Eagles aren't in it to win it. They boosted the offense to make Hurts look better. They screwed the defense, which means you're not a 10-win team with that defense. They actually believe the things that they're doing on that side of the ball with so many question marks. You created more question marks by moving Reddick now. Nolan Smith is going to be a factor. The same guy who made that decision thought that Nakobe Dean was going to be. So you're going to put Nakobe Dean. Here's who you're going to rely on: Nolan Smith and Nakobe Dean, Reed Blankenship, Zach Cunningham, and guys like that on your defense, and you think you're better. And then you bring back Brandon Graham because you want the fans not to shit all over you. They've done nothing on that side of the ball, like I told you. You traded Reddick away. And most of you, I was kind of hoping you were right. Some of you were already going, Sills, they're going to find a way. Howie's going to find a way to keep Reddick. And what did I keep telling you? They had no intention of keeping that man. They did everything in their power, and they showed you everything when it came to the tea leaves that they had no interest in keeping that player. Zero. I got to see how this plays out. It's definitely an L right now, but with more money added, a move may be coming. I'll stay reserved for now. You got $40 million in cap space. What are you going to do with it? Sign one of those junk cars you have in free agency left? Are you going to wait for another June 1 cut? For another player that was released? Watch Justin Simmons get signed now. Remember I told you that. It's now March 29th. It's 4:20 on the East Coast. Watch this. You bet Justin Simmons gets signed now. I'll bet you anything they sign that guy in the next 3 days. And they bring that dude in. And then everyone will go, oh, we signed a guy. We brought a guy in. And he brought a 31-year-old guy. He's not horrible, but another old guy. Reddick was here's my take on Reddick. Reddick was a superstar Eagle. Had deficiencies as a player, but his production was off the charts. Single-handedly was the most valuable player in the NFC Championship game for the Philadelphia Eagles by destroying the 49ers. You know what? I got to tell you, Hassan Reddick may have ended the 49ers' best chance at winning a Super Bowl, because their best chance of winning a Super Bowl actually might have been in 22. And he ruined it. Do you think this had something to do with Vic saying to let him go? I told you that. Maybe he doesn't fit into the scheme. Sills, please explain this to me. Furman, I tweeted out, and everyone laughed at me, that Vic Fangio's pushing Reddick out. And people didn't believe it. I said, this is Vic's call. He doesn't believe he fits the scheme. And then the analytic guys went out and found a guy who looks like him. And they're projecting, like Howie said at the owners' meetings. He's not Reddick. They're hoping he becomes Reddick. Vic didn't want Reddick. He didn't want him. That's a Vic Fangio move. Zach Cunningham is not on the roster. So you have Dean and White, Nolan Smith and Huff. None of them can cover a tight end. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely true. What an absolute. You got chaos on that side of the ball now. Or how about this? You got a lot of question marks. Who's taking over for Brandon Graham? Who's going to be your elite pass rusher? Bryce Huff? Okay, you're paying him $18 million. Is Dean going to be able to play? Is Devon White going to turn his career around? Can Reed Blankenship stay healthy? Will Gardner Johnson, will I regret it or not regret it, bringing him back? Am I going to have Bradbury bounce back? Joe Douglas shredded Howie Roseman. Reddick is going to have a career year with the competent defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh. And you got Aaron Rodgers coming back in a pretty good division there with Josh Allen, which means he's going to get an opportunity to rush the passer, even against Tua down in Miami. By the way, it really doesn't matter what team he's on. He's going to get double-digit sacks. Okay, Sills. How would you honestly fix this? Furman, the only thing that you have left, there's two avenues here, or three. You can make a trade, sign a guy post June 1, or draft. Drafting is slower. June 1 is a Band-Aid. A trade will help, but you got to give something up. The Eagles refuse to spend money on that side of the ball. Look at what they did, man. The Bryce Huff move was Hassan. They gave Hassan Reddick's contract to Bryce Huff for a guy who's less proven. I'm because he's younger, who gives a shit? I don't care about 5 years from now. I care about 5 minutes from now. How in the world do anybody think that move makes sense for the 2024 season? Nobody thinks that. Now the Devon White move looks dumb. You got another guy who's on a prove-it deal, and you got rid of Reddick. You downsized. You got rid of your best player. I could make the argument with you that Hassan Reddick, let's see, Hurts, AJ, Devontae, Lamalata, Landon, Lane. I don't know if he's better than, I don't know if Barkley's better than him. We'll see. I know what Reddick's done the last 2 years. You know what that is? 27 sacks. He's like your sixth best player on your team, and you let him go. Horrible, just absolutely horrible. Okay? You weren't a fan of Reddick, though, Sills. What am I missing? He was productive, though. You know what? I'm more of a fan of Reddick than I am of Bryce Huff. And they signed an unproven dude that they're hoping works out. Correct. You seriously think Huff isn't getting 10 sacks? I don't know. He's only done it one time. That guy's done it 4 years in a row. How would you know that? He doesn't start. He doesn't start. Howie moves Reddick on a good Friday. Turns it into a bad Friday. Football-wise. And look at 11. Nobody on Philly can guard Ferguson. What was this here? Barkley's going to get 1,200 yards rushing this year. Great. Well, 11, that means that he is averaged what the last two guys did. So he matches Miles and DeAndre Swift because they average 11-59 the last 2 years. You're running back. Great. So you get a 41-yard upgrade with Barkley, right? Okay. I guess. Trying to hide the William. That's right, Xander. Trying to hide the move under the guise of the Phillies home opener. Anthony goes, Huff will get 10 sacks. Who do you think has a better chance of getting 10 sacks this year? Hassan Reddick or Bryce Huff? My money's on Reddick. Get this. This guy has double-digit sack years in Arizona, Carolina, and Philly. I'll tell you what, when it comes to being a pass rusher, he was superior to Michael Parsons. he was superior to Parsons. Huff playing 60%. Dude, he played 47% in New York. He wasn't a starter. He wasn't a starter. But in Philly, sure, he could probably start in Philly because you got horse shit there. You're going to start a guy who can't start with the Jets. The Jets upgraded. Hey, think about where I'm at here. Hey, don't forget, Diamond Dallas Page is going to join us too, right in the midst of all this. Okay, we're going to talk to the legendary WWE wrestler. Of course, we get this dumped on us here on a Friday. But you got to think here. The Jets upgraded. The Eagles downgraded. This is like the Bears upgrading with TJ Edwards and the Eagles downgrading with Nicholas Morrow. You and Angelo done brought me down with the 5-win prediction. Oh, Sean. That totally stinks. I think it's 7 wins. Angelo's the one that thinks it's 5. I think it's 7. Wait, Sills, we moved the one-trick pony, right? Yeah, the one that was the better one. Yeah. And you kept the lesser one. Yeah. But this guy's not good. Okay? He can't play. He's not a first and second down guy. And what you're doing is you traded the better player. Sills, is he a good tackler? No, Hassan's not particularly. Can he cover? Not particularly. Bryce Huff can? He couldn't start in New York. Spike thinks that this is shock jock time. He thinks that Bryce Huff is a better player than Reddick. Do you actually think that? Do you? Do you actually think that? All right, guys, listen. I've been looking forward to this here. We'll get back to this, I promise. Don't forget, Philly Godfather will join us too at 5:30 Eastern. We're very fortunate to get Curt Schilling on just a couple minutes ago. And now we got our friend on, Diamond Dallas Page here. And I got to say this to you, man. It's really awesome to see you again, brother. How you doing? Thanks for coming aboard. And when you sent that Butterbean and that Bagwell video over, I know I'm going to talk about DDP yoga here in a minute, but dude, the things you're doing to people, even Lex Luger, I saw you working with him. It's pretty remarkable on what you're doing for guys that are in bad shape right now once they leave their loved sport.
You know, everybody, gets beat up, basketball, their knees, their back. I feel the most pain for the linemen in the NFL because every play, scrimmage, walkthroughs, every time those guys hit, but nobody takes it worse than wrestlers. Professional wrestlers, sports entertainment, it's just ridiculous how beat up everybody's bodies get. And while you're going through it, they don't really think about that because they're so on the rush of the high, of the adrenaline high. And then at some point, it comes time where, me starting as a wrestler at 35, I was always looking for preventative maintenance. So when I got out, I still kept doing that. And now it's turned into helping my brothers, get back and be able to enjoy some of their, heading into their 50s and 60s,
I got to tell you, DDP, I wrestled when I got done playing football, and I went to Ottawan's CWA, and I got a chance to wrestle with Road Warrior Hawk with Mike, and I got a chance to be over there with Ken Patera and those guys. And I played professional football for 7 years in numerous leagues, and I used to always watch it, wrestling WWE and WCW back in the day. And then Ole Anderson sends me over there, and all the guys down in Atlanta, they sent me to the Power Gym, and I did all that stuff. I got to tell you this. If anybody thinks that those wrestlers, that was the hardest thing, the ropes, DDP, the ropes. When I first started hitting the ropes, I was like this. Why? He goes, "Oh, you build the calcium up." No, I don't think so. Hey, the hardest thing I ever did was doing that stuff.
Well, they make you hit them so many times, and people see the move. Well, in WCW, they were the cables underneath hose, which is taped up. And when you're running back and forth, hitting it, I mean, I don't care who you are, those first 3 days, you are bruised from your armpit halfway down your body, like a huge bruise. I'll never forget Kimberly, my first ex-wife, and now the COO of my company, DDP Yoga. But when I came back from the power plant, she was like, "What happened? What happened to your side?" I said, "Believe it or."
There you go. Got you good. Believe it or not.
Oh, shit, I lost it.
Hang on. There you go.
You
Believe
back?
it or not,
There we
you
go.
were at.
Yeah, I said, "Believe it or not, I was hitting the ropes." She goes, "From the ropes?" I go, "I know. Things aren't like hell." Everybody has their own opinion about professional wrestling, but one thing remains true with everyone. You can't fake gravity. The impact that your body takes, and then add 20,000 people, or like we're around the corner from WrestleMania, add 80,000 people 2 nights in a row. I literally just left Cody Rhodes, who's like a nephew to me, because without Dusty Rhodes, there is no Diamond Dallas Page. Without Jake Roberts, there's no 3-time world champion and a Hall of Famer. But Dusty was so close with me that Cody and I started mentoring him when he was 12 years old. And such a great human being. And I've watched this kid have a work ethic that I say nobody's got a more intense work ethic than I do. He does. He does. And, we're just talking about, coming up to Mania, and you get out there in front of 80,000 people. You're trying not to hurt each other out there, but we are beating the hell out of each other and thanking each other for it afterwards. We're trying not to hit the T-zone.
Hey, DDP, the craziest thing is working together and killing each other and then going like this. Man, that was a great show.
Right. We really had him there. Wrestling, God, you can't tell me the NFL is completely not a work at times after I watch some of those Kansas City wins with the Taylor Swift, up in the booth up there. I mean, that brought so many new fans to football. And believe it, it's about sports entertainment. I was in the grocery store yesterday. I took a picture to send back to my wife. There were 7 different magazines, as you're going, to check out at the grocery store. Every picture, full-blown picture, was Taylor Swift. Everyone. 7 different magazines. So you can't tell me that a call here and a call there, because some of them were pretty questionable, man. And I love Kansas City. I think their team, the players, bringing a big Mahomes fan. I still got to call a spade a spade, because there was some calls there, man. So don't anybody tell me that wrestling's predetermined. We admit it.
Tell me this. Do you like those documentaries that you see on A&E with all you guys and how you guys had to go through it? Do you think it's really truthful in how, because again, when you guys were, I mean, people and the guys today staying on the shoulders of what you guys did, because back then people made no money when it comes to getting involved, and you had to go up the ranks and all the organizations that you had. You had NWA, you had WCW, EWA, you had all those things. And yet, you know, you see all these ways that you guys grew up in the business. Do you like what they do?
I do, because the business is always changing, like just like anything, example, let's go back to football again. Jim Kelly was a good buddy of mine, still is. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I remember being out to dinner with him and saying, I got to ask you, Jim, on some of those hits you took from LT in the freezing cold, how did you get back up? I mean, you got blasted by this 265-pound cat who was chiseled with a stone, and he talked about it, who was cracked up at times, whatever he was on that took him to another level. How did you get up? And he said all he could hear was his brothers going, get up, get the F up. You ain't hurt. Get up. And he said, that's all I got up every time. Today, nobody gets hit like that. If someone hit somebody else like that in the backfield, they'd be gone. So the game's constantly changing. It's becoming safer for what we do and what
Do you like wrestling today? Do you like the wrestling game today?
As of the last year and a half since Triple H took over with the WWE storytelling, I think the AEW, I think they were really good when Cody was there because he knew how to tell stories. And when he left, I feel like their stories they're not complete. Now, what with The Rock coming in, now let's think about that. The Rock coming in for the biggest WrestleMania ever, which Cody and Roman built from last year, but The Rock is the biggest star in the world, and he's one of us.
He's a dear friend of mine. It comes on the program all the time, and I see him more and more involved with WWE. So, DDP, you think that's by design that they have brought him back in?
No, I think he wanted to come back in because he loves the business. Like, he sent me a message after he saw 2 minutes of Butterbean. He sent me a message, and it was on Instagram, voice message. And he put over what we were doing so big. But he really put over, there's a video. If you go to my Diamond Dallas page, Instagram, or my Facebook, it's saved up on those pages. When you pin something up there, it was an interview. It wasn't an interview. It was me doing a video about what just happened. I was in Jamaica with my wife, and they were doing a press conference in Vegas at the time in the Super Bowl week. So there was ridiculous amount of people there. And, press conference is normally, 50, 100, 200, people who are from the press. Well, they let the public in too. So there's like 15,000 people in there. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I stumbled across it. And it's everybody coming up hyping their match for WrestleMania. And then eventually Roman Reigns comes out, and then The Rock comes out, and the people, who are hearing The Rock's going to, it's going to be Roman and Rock, and Cody's going to get screwed. The Rock, the night before, or a day before, he's on Pat McAfee, and he basically turned heel. Like, basically went like, give it to the people, man, and like, I'm the biggest star in the world, and what's real and what's not. And that's what I talked about. I talked about how back in our era, where it was the Monday Night Wars, I mean, we were white hot. If the top 4 shows on cable television when we were winning was Nitro, and then it was Raw, and then it was Thunder and SmackDown. We had the top 4 shows like week in and week out on all of cable. That's how hot it was. And when The Rock just pasted and slapped the hell out of Cody, and it got really heated, and you don't really know what's real and what's not, and that's when wrestling really works.
DDP, Rock told me he thinks the greatest heel in the history of wrestling is Rowdy Piper.
He was definitely, I would say he was one of them for sure. For sure.
He just knew how to say what you just said. He goes, that guy, you never knew what was really real and not real. And that's the guys who were the great sellers.
No, really, man. I love being a heel, but I'm a better babyface because that's who I am in real life, you know? I just am. It's what I do, you know? And it was Scott Hall who brought that to Bischoff. Oh. No, because the people were turning me babyface.
I love Scott.
Yes, he was a great guy. It really that loss really hurt for a while. It still does, but I got to help give him an extra 10 years. Get him in the Hall of Fame twice. The first time, man. I mean, he looked
to each other in Orlando.
Oh, really?
Oh,
really?
Yeah. No, he started training, and he was really the reason he sent me to Cowboy Bob Orton. And after I got out of the NFL, I was benching 605. I was like, I was still a pretty big dude. And he sends me up to Cowboy Bob Orton and Ole Anderson. Ole took over for Cowboy Bob at the WCW. Then they sent me to that school. And then they sent me overseas, and I went to Japan and wrestled for Inoki. So I did a little bit, Hey, Diamond Dallas Page, I got to tell you, man, before we get you out of here, I want to do DDP yoga for a couple of minutes here. You got to tell me, has this been one of the most rewarding things that you've ever done in your life?
I want to preface it with this because everybody thinks when something happens to them that looks like it's the worst thing that ever happened to them. Like, I start wrestling at 35, my career takes off on the back end of 40. I'm almost 41 when my career explodes. And I had this ridiculous run in 96, 97, 98. I'm about to turn 43 and I break my back. And I'm told by 3 spine specialists, I'm never wrestling again. Like, you never will. And what if I get my back fused? And no, like you'll end up being crippled. So bottom line is I never had any surgery. I healed it back with a mixture of yoga, rehab, old school calisthenics, and something I call dynamic resistance, which is time under tension. The bottom line is 3 months later, I was back in the ring. At 42, they said my career's over. At 43, I'm the heavyweight champion of the world, which is like our Oscar. And I'm the oldest guy ever to be awarded that world championship for the first time. And I'd had it 3 different times, but it looked like it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. It turned out, as I turned it into a business and helping other people, that it turned out to be the best thing that happened, not only to me, but literally millions and millions of people, who have used the program and it's helped them. And now we just developed a whole PT, physical therapy. We call it DDPY PT, because, a lot of people after they have surgery or whatever, they only get so much paid for. And then they go, okay, you're done. Well, wait a minute. No, they're not. That's all the insurance will pay, though. And our program, it picks up right where they left off. And so what we're doing today, helping healing people on a different level. And you've seen the videos, what we did for Butterbean. And Butterbean's going to get one last bite. They're talking right now about it might be in Tokyo, Japan. It might be, I don't know where, I'm not sure where right now, but there's some definitely interest in it. And my buddy Rick Bassman, who's an agent for me, who does a lot of stuff for me, he's the one who's handling it. And but Bean looks really good considering where he was. He looks unbelievable.
Unbelievable stuff. DDP, we got to roll. And I know you're always swamped and you always find time for me. I want to thank you so much. I mean, what you do with DDP Yoga and really the athletes. I was talking to Lex the other day. He goes, this shit works, man. I'm not. So go over to Instagram, go to his Facebook, see the program that he has. You also on Twitter with it too, where you can pick up most of the stuff. Dallas, thank you so much for being part of this, man. I so appreciate it.
It's been your pleasure. And anybody who wants to go try it for 7 days, go to ddpyoga.com, and it's all right there for you. Bro, catch you later, Danny.
You bet, baby. That's it right there, man. I appreciate it very much. Make sure you hit the like button. That was absolutely sensational, too. Hey, by the way, we're going to get back to the worst move in Howie Roseman's career. Moving the best player on your defense. Howie season. Really? Terrible move. F. Everyone's giving the Eagles an A for their postseason or their offseason. F. I'll explain. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Philadelphia fans were cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Mike Little was a union construction worker who was badly injured when he suffered a horrific fall because of someone's negligence. His life would change forever.
It was just a real downward spiral with everything. Everything you do, and you're sitting home by yourself all day. You can't go out because you can't drive, you can't walk well. It was just a horrible situation.
Call Brian Fritz at the Fritz & Beyond Cooley Law Firm at 215-548-2222.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Howie Roseman is such a sneak. He's such a sneak. Friday opening day, NCAA tournament, late in the afternoon, he moves a shitty trade. Congratulations to you. Way to go, Howie. And you go into an Easter weekend on Good Friday with the absolute worst move you could possibly make for your defense. You didn't upgrade your football team one more time. How did you upgrade your football? Where have you upgraded your football team? Where? Let's just hypothetically you think that Bryce Huff will be Hassan Reddick. Okay? So he's Reddick. What have you added? Gardner Johnson? Okay, what else? What else is proven? Nothing. Nothing. Let's hypothetically say Huff turns into Reddick. We hope. That guy is a conniver. That whole organization is sneaky. It's sneaky. It's a sneaky organization. You had to do it, though. You know why? April 1 was coming around the corner. They owed him some money when it came to his roster bonus. They made sure they moved him before they had to pay him. Because you know why? They're cheap. Get this. You have done nothing to improve your defense. You're not getting it. I am going to beat this drum until you're bloody, until your nose bleeds, that this team is not good enough to win more than 7 games. It's not because your offense isn't great. Your offense could be historic. Your offense was last year. You had the greatest offense in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles. Did you not? Okay, ask this. You had the greatest offense in the history of the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Did you not? Yes or no? Did you not? Yes or no? Did you have the greatest offense in Eagle history last year? Yes or no? Have you? Look, no one will answer it. Okay, Flexen. You had the greatest offense when it came to production in Philadelphia Eagle history. And you got blown out. How many games did you lose in a row at the end of the year? Was it 4? Let me see. Bucks, Giants, Cardinals, Seahawks? Was it 4 in a row? Hey, by the way, once again, I've already explained to you. And listen, one thing, my good friend LJ in here. LJ, I really don't have really a strong opinion of your football takes when you think that Sirianni's a better coach than Doug Peterson. So really, whatever you say, it's almost like not significant any longer, because anybody who will hang on a take like that and say that they believe that with their heart, I really don't really have a strong opinion on your football takes any longer. You know what I'm saying? Okay. No, I didn't say that Huff was a top priority. I said he was a top free agent prospect by everyone. Don't get me wrong. I dislike the move, but do you honestly think Fangio does not know what he's doing? Sills, my brother, I would take it easy. Hey, Marshall, has he ever won a Super Bowl or been to one? Has he ever? No, I'm not being disingenuous. I had him at the top of the list as a pass rusher. He didn't start in New York. I did. They needed a pass rusher. Okay. But to be the priority player, that's not what I wanted him here for. Reddick was the better player, and Reddick and him are the same. They're limited. They needed more pressure on the quarterback. He's not an every down player. Now he's going to be asked to do it. I'm not going to validate any fucking thing that I'm saying today. I'm not validating anything. The man doesn't start in New York. He never started. It's totally a lateral move, which means you didn't get better. It's totally a lateral move. Where have you gotten better on your team? Gardner Johnson, where else have you gotten better? You know what? Xander's right probably here. It's not a lateral move. They got worse. Right. Because at least Reddick started. Okay? You said the Eagles needed to trade Reddick away. No, I didn't. I said the Eagles were moving him no matter what. All the things James put up a video clip where I'm saying the Eagles are pushing Reddick out. And they did. I can't believe how many people in this place are defending Howie Roseman's move when you know it's a complete downgrade on what they did. Why in the world would you defend that conniving CPA? Why would you do that? Why would you defend that? Because you want to? One more time here. I'm going to show you this. On your vaunted shit defense, you have no one for Brandon Graham, but Milton Williams, you're moving over from defensive tackle. Cheap move. Your nose guard is Jordan Davis. Okay. JD. Your left end, can he play it? Jalen Carter. Here are your dog shit linebackers. Bryce Huff, who's got to now do something he's never done, play 3 downs, which I don't believe he can. Then you're putting that stupid decision again of a guy who can't play in Nakobe Dean. Nakobe Dean can't play. He can't play. He can't play. By the way, so it's got to be Josh Sweat out here, right? Because they restructured. So it's Josh Sweat, not Milton Williams. So Josh Sweat, Jordan Davis, and Jalen Carter. All right. Sills right again. Boom, Sills. Carton 3, Philly nothing. Thank you, 304. Right again. Bang. Take a knee. How you doing? Right again. So let's take a look at this. Jalen Carter, left defensive end. Yeah, okay. Jordan Davis knows his natural position. Linebackers are upgraded. Linebackers are dog shit. Josh Sweat, he's still your best 3-down guy. Bryce Huff can't play 3 downs. Nakobe Dean can't play. Devon White was fired in Tampa because he was a baby. Who's the other guy outside? Nolan Smith. Another bust. Holy cow. Here's Nick Fangio's 4 backers. Nolan Smith, Devon White, Nakobe Dean, and Bryce Huff. It's the collection of misfit linebackers. Holy shit. Nolan Smith, Devon White, Nakobe Dean, and Bryce Huff are your 4 linebackers. He's going to play in a 34. Oh, my God. He'll finish 29th. The Eagles might finish last in defense. Then you got the greatness of Reed Blankenship, Gardner Johnson, okay, and Bradbury and Slay. Well, those guys are going to be awful tired by the end of the year. Hey, man, get this. With that linebacking core, your secondary is going to be turned into horse shit. Holy cow. The defense, you know how you have no-name defense? The Philadelphia Eagles have no talent defense. Ain't no talent on that defense except in your front 4. The rest of them are nowhere. That's not a talented unit. Get this, for as talented as your offense is, that thing is the reverse. Get this, your defense might be the least talented defense in all of the NFC. Where are you going? Oh, we're going to draft somebody. Oh, because the guy's been great at corner and linebackers in the draft in the last 20 years. He stinks. Then he goes, Sills, are we even? No, you're built for 43. Absolutely. You're built for the 43, not the 34. You don't have linebackers. Do you have 4 backers on the team? Nolan Smith. That's the analytic guys talking. Deshaun Watson's going to throw for 900 yards. And Sao Paulo. Dude, the Eagle defense is going to get lit up by that Browns offense and all those talented players that they have. You couldn't even stop the shitty Cardinals last year. And you're telling me you're going to stop Nick Chubb, can't stop the run. Judy and Amari. Dude, I can't even tell you who the New York Giants wide receivers were that took you apart. Eagles move up to get Verse now with that ammo. Sweat is now the only 3-down player. Totally, James. Yeah, baby. Building the draft where they can't build. Hey, tell me something. Who's the last All-Pro or Pro Bowl player that the Eagles have drafted on defense? Can someone tell me? Who's the last guy you drafted? Still, Jeff Lurie needs to stay off the drugs, hidden on his yacht, thinking he is smarter than everyone just because of 17. I thought Jerry was crazy. So Fletcher Cox, what year was Fletcher Cox drafted? What year was Fletcher Cox drafted? The last time you drafted a Pro Bowl player. Actually, so you can convert Nolan Smith. 2012. 2012 is the last time you drafted a Pro Bowl defensive player. And you're going to go into this draft. This is comical. It's the same defense we had last year. Good night. That's frightening. That's why I said I'll wait till the end of the season to evaluate it. Don't need a headache. Hey, death row. If it's the same defense of a year ago, you're going to have a screaming headache by the end of the year. That was Joe Banner who drafted. So Howie hasn't drafted a pro. Wait a minute. So Howie hasn't drafted a Pro Bowl defensive player since he's been GM? And he's gonna this year, though. Hey, I think Jalen Carter has a shot. I do. Okay? No, Tyler. Tyler misses it again. Supporting of Hassan Reddick? No. What I said is you traded your best pass rusher away. And I've made it very clear. He's not a very good tackler. He's not a very good cover guy. I told you a couple days ago, Vic Fangio wanted him out. And they moved him out because Vic wanted him out. And they signed Bryce Huff. Now, here's the problem with Huff. Your general manager actually said it at the owners' meetings that he is a projection. You signed a guy who's a projection, but you have a guy who is productive at the one thing he does better than anybody in the NFC East is rush the passer. Okay, you made a lateral move. You didn't upgrade your team, but to Xander's point, you actually downgraded because he's a lesser player than Reddick. And the Jets got the better end of this. The Jets are probably going to give him 20 to play in New York. They got the better player. Of the two guys that are similar, would I want both those guys on my team? No. But you didn't change the talent. And what you did was you went cheaper and less experience with less of a resume. It's the same guy that's lesser. You didn't get Brian Burns, who's a better ball player and does more. You didn't upgrade a player that's better than Reddick. You could have got a cheaper player who is better at all three skill sets, playing the run, rushing the passer, doing all of that at a lesser price. But they refused to do that. That's here. And see, Xander knows what projection means. He's right. It's wishful thinking. You have wishful thinking on here. Get this. Here's who the fans that are watching our show right now and are watching all these moves. Are you ready? You have wishful thinking on Devon White. Yes or no? Yes. Hey, I hope the guy turns it around in Philly. Okay. $90 million decision he made last year by trying to hijack the Bucs. That was his contract demands. The Bucs said, pound sand, guy. That was after they gave him money. So when you say the Bucs flip-flopped on him, they hated him after the year. By the end of the year, the Bucs hated him. The Bucs hated him. Hey, one thing for me to change my opinion, it's another thing for a team that's paying you to change their opinion. And they let him walk out and he signed a $3 million deal. So he lost $97 million. $97 million bucks of street value. Here, Jacoby Dean, that's wishful thinking. Nolan Smith, that's wishful thinking. James Bradbury, that's wishful thinking. Reed Blankenship, that's wishful thinking. They're better. Hey, by the way, I looked something up. Last year, Vegas had you guys projected at 11 and a half wins. You guys had 11, right? So if you win 10 games this year and get destroyed in the playoffs again, does it matter really? Congratulations to you. You're no better than a 7-win team. You win 11 games, you get killed by the Bucs, can't score 10 points. Who gives a shit? You are sent home. You played one more. You want to hear something crazy? The Arizona Cardinals, how many wins did they have last year? Okay. How many wins did Arizona Cardinals have last year? 5? You want to hear something crazy? Eagles played one more game than what the Cardinals played last year. They played one more game than what the Cards played. And you won 11 games. You played one more game than the shitty Cardinals. Wow. This is, oh my God. You know, hey, wait a minute. I got to do something before I take a timeout. Because guys at the NovaCare Center, you know, I want them, when they call my bosses, I want to be presentable. Hang on, Xander. I want to be presentable for the NovaCare Center guys. Oh, wait, we got here. Okay. Gotta make sure I got it down. Okay. You traded away your best pass rusher for a guy, and you gave money to a guy for a 1-year wonder. And you upgraded? You moved money around. You robbed Peter to pay Paul. You didn't do anything. Trades Reddick for Huff, but saved money to get a potential second rounder, which he sucks at. Chris makes it sound like how he knows what he's doing in the draft. Hey, Big Sills, this is hilarious, dude. I thought we were trying to win a Super Bowl. No. You're trying to win the spare parts department when it comes to putting defenses together. Honestly, man, you know what you are? You're like a used car lot. You got this guy owns a Ferrari dealership on offense. You know what he owns? This guy owns a junkyard on the other side. So Jeffrey Lurie owns a junkyard and he owns a Ferrari dealership. That's what you have. So Will is calling me a bum because his general manager and owner suck at building defenses. Well, that's all right, kid. You don't like somebody talking shit on something that's real because you like listening to lies because that's all you've been told in that market. Because just like the NFL Network, okay, which is controlled by the owners, guarantee you they make that move for Bryce Huff. Look, hey, both teams got what they wanted. You watch. Turn on the NFL Network tonight. Both teams got what they wanted. No, they didn't. Eagles went cheap. They didn't want to pay Reddick $25. I wouldn't have either. But at least upgrade him with a better player. You didn't upgrade Reddick with a better player. I mean, at least do that. Like here's a perfect example. You guys moved off of Javon Hargrave, right? And then you turned around and drafted Jalen Carter. That's a good move. Potential's better, higher ceiling, and he's cheaper. Yeah. I don't want to pay $20 for a tackle, okay? That makes sense. I'm a 2-time Texas Tech alum and loved Coach Leach. Loved Coach Leach too, James. But he did this same crap for not caring about the defense. Now the Eagles are doing the same. Horrible. I love Coach Leach too, dude. He's been on this program before he passed too, by the way. Okay? Hey, is this the first collateral damage of not having Jake Rosenberg at Howie's side? Woo! Holy cow. Collateral damage. Howie's boy, Jake Rosenberg, man, not in the building. Gee, no wonder he bowed out. I wonder if that had anything to do with it. I'm not doing anything part of that deal. That's not going to happen. Yeah, I wonder, man. Pretty odd that Jake Rosenberg doesn't have a job. He just quit. Was he pushed out because he had a dissenting view of how they were building the defense? Pretty odd that he would just go, I'm out. I thought, people kept sending me that. They were going, I was like, okay, where's he going? He doesn't have a job. He don't have a job? Well, all the GM roles are filled. Okay, so he's not getting paid. He doesn't have a job. And he's been, in Philly for 16 years? Hey, I want to reset this whole thing. Okay, hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Philadelphia fans, were cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Mike Little was a union construction worker who was badly injured when he suffered a horrific fall because of someone's negligence. His life would change forever.
It was just a real downward spiral with everything. Everything you do, and you're sitting home by yourself all day. You can't go out because you can't drive, you can't walk well. It was just a horrible situation.
Call Brian Fritz at the Fritz & Beyond Cooley Law Firm at 215-548-2222.
EAGLES, Eagles.
I have to laugh. I'm sorry. I can't look at you people in the face anymore and listen to some of you defend this guy. I mean, he's terrible at the NFL draft. He's terrible. And you guys are telling me he got draft picks. What's he going to do with them? I mean, what's he going to do with them? You make it sound like if you give him draft picks, he's going to land on the right guy. He never lands on the right guy defensively. He kind of did with Jordan. He, I believe, has with Jalen. And Jalen Carter was really a no-brainer. The only reason you don't draft him is because of character issues. He didn't have to evaluate that position and that pick that much. He just had to make a call that they were going to put up with the guy having been involved in a killing. Think about that. That was the reason they drafted him. They went okay. It wasn't because they evaluated the player. Everyone knew Jalen Carter was the best interior tackle in the draft, and one of the 5 sandbox guys that I like to call that are going to be impact players. Will Anderson, him, the kid Christian Gonzalez, and Devin Witherspoon, and the kid that the Cardinals drafted, the offensive tackle. Those were the only guys that went into the sandbox. You knew it. So it wasn't like a reach. Well, gee, should we take Carter or this? It was Carter and everybody else. You know, quite candidly, the guy in the 3rd or 4th round the Rams took ended up being a surprise. Holy shit. The Jets got the best out of this. And they got rid of a guy who can't start for him. But put on Huff's tape? I did. He played 45% of the plays. He doesn't play first. Why would I throw against the Eagles when you can't stop the run? Why would I do that? Why would I do that when the last 8 games you gave up 136 yards rushing? Why would I do that? Why would I throw the ball? Why would I throw the ball when I don't need to? $21 million for Reddick versus $17 million for situational player in Huff. So the Eagles destroyed their team for $4 million in hope. Right on, James. And thank you for your generosity. The greatness of Philly Godfather is going to join us soon. This Hassan Reddick deal is the shittiest deal for the Eagles. Huff is a one-time first year 10-sack guy who didn't start with the Jets. You trade the guy away who you want him to resemble. And the Jets get him and upgrade their team. And guess what? The Eagles downgrade their team. Smart Howie. Must be Howie season. I'll tell you what, man. They do not believe. And get this. This is like moving money around. That's not an upgrade. You move $17 million. You move basically Reddick's contract to another guy that didn't matter last year on your defense that fell apart. And then you say, well, he got draft picks. He stinks at drafting defensive players. Holy cow. I can't wait for this. There's only one man I know who has a yacht. Like the yachtsman himself. That's the Philly Godfather. He and Jeffrey Lurie have yachts. Because, those are all those sophisticated guys. Me, I'm just a robo kind of guy. Here's Philly Godfather. He rolls in here. Boy, I'll tell you something, man. I don't get this Reddick deal.
I'm speechless. I mean, what are they doing? I don't know. Other than the Elliott signing, re-signing Sweat, yeah, the move the needle hasn't moved at all. I mean, look at their odds. They're not making any noise. They're not making any noise.
I'd say this to you. Gardner Johnson, like you said, the Sweat, and you sign a guy in Bryce Huff who can't start in New York. You bring a guy, if you're New York, in who's had 4 years of 10-plus sacks. Get this, too. Godfather, this guy had 27 sacks for you. And if you're – I look, and I get it. Reddick and Bryce, they got limitations. Why didn't you at least upgrade the ability to do more? Play the run, pass rush. Maybe not to the level of Hassan, but get a better player. They got a lesser player.
Yeah, I know. I mean, if anything, I think the Jets' odds are going to drop a little bit. They're getting better. I think they're at 22-1 to win the whole thing. Aaron Rodgers is back. I think they got the best of the deal. The Eagles really haven't moved the needle, like I said. I don't know what Howie's doing. Smoke and mirrors here, maybe trying to fool some people. But the guys that know what's really going on, this team hasn't gotten better.
You know, I want to take a couple things away from that bizarre press conference that Jeffrey Lurie had the other day at the owner. It was bizarre to me. And how about this? He says this. He said that Nick's meeting went better than Doug's meeting on the direction of the team, and that was one of the reasons that they decided to move forward, was because Nick had a better meeting than we did. Isn't that code for this? If you don't accept these coordinator changes, you're going to be moved out the same way Doug was moved out.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. I mean, he's a total yes man. Doug actually had the cojones to tell him what they needed to do to get better. And Nick's just sitting there, yes, boss, whatever you say, boss. And that's why he's still around.
Hey, man, I know that get this. You must be one of the most miserable guys right now covering that NCAA tournament. I'll get to the tournament, man, because I'll tell you this. You know what? After Arizona went out, I'm done. I'm finished. I don't care what happens after this. I'll get to that here in a minute, but holy cow, man. And then you're like UNC. Why? At the end of the game? Why are you doing that? So I've got a couple questions here for you. Okay? I say that these things have to happen if the Eagles are going to have any hope at being a Super Bowl contender. Do you believe Hurts returns back to MVP form?
No. You got no center.
Why?
The center's gone. You got the rock star. He left the building. Kelsey ain't walking through those doors. People don't realize how important the center is. I love Jalen Hurts, and hopefully he gets his head on straight and the shenanigans that were going on in the locker room between the players don't happen again this season. And you might see some guys run over and pick him up after he gets hit, where, late in the season you weren't seeing that on the football field.
Over under 14 games Barkley plays.
I say under. That offensive line, it worries me. It worries
me. Do you
me.
think he becomes a star this year in Philly?
Yeah, I think so. I like him a lot. I'm cheering for him. He's an unbelievable talent. He can catch the ball out the backfield. He can run the ball down your throat. You give him a little separation, he's gone. So, yeah, I think so.
Will Goddard play more than 12 and a half games?
Ooh. He hurt his arm last year. It was kind of like a fluke injury, right? That was the only injury he had last year?
Got a fluke injury every year since he's been with the Eagles. Every year he's missed, and it's added up to between 23 and 25% of his playing career.
I think he got more weapons on the field. Yeah, I think he plays more than 12 and a half games.
I made this point in the first hour. If Brock Bowers falls down to that 22, I think he is the best player in the draft. Some people would say Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the best. But if that guy, and here's why, and someone's right that said this, here's why he will make a bigger impact. The linebacking cores in the NFL are not as good as the cornerbacks that are in this league. Some of the most talented players on defense are at the corner position. An NFL team has at least one really good corner. You play teams in the NFL that don't have any linebackers, like the Eagles don't have any linebackers that are worth a shit. That position has become such a focal point for teams, and that's why you're seeing more teams that – look at the little Porter kid who up in Detroit, over 70 catches, over 700 yards. How do you pass on that? Would you seriously consider taking him in that 22 pick if Brock Bowers is there?
He got needs on defense. That's the problem. He's going to be a great NFL player. And if he's the best available at that, at that spot, you might look to take him. But
Maybe you trade down when someone wants to take him. You trade down.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, you could do that. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the best player, and then it's him. And then maybe, one of the quarterbacks, maybe like Drake May's pretty good, but he's going to go probably number 2. But yeah, I mean, it's a real possibility. He's a great player, great tight end.
Do you want to hear who the 4 linebackers are right now after this Reddick deal? Nolan Smith, Devon White, Nakobe Dean, and Bryce Huff.
25%.
Yeah.
You run 25%.
Hey, what? I mean, where do you think you've upgraded that linebacking core?
You haven't. You really haven't. I mean, we talked about them. I mean, his numbers have dropped off dramatically since 2020. Dean, all right. I don't know. You got one guy. That's it. 1 out of 4.
Can Davis be a star?
A big star, or a little star?
Well, he's already a big fella, but
Yeah.
we'll say a big star.
Yeah, I think he'll be all right. I think we'll be okay with him. They got so many needs on this team, and I keep repeating over and over. I know the guys don't want to hear it, but when you lose Jason Kelce, man, that's massive.
Who's Brandon Graham's replacement?
I don't know.
Nolan Smith?
No. No.
So he's not on the team yet.
You lose so much production on that line, man. It's getting scary. It's getting scary. Thank God they picked up Huff, but he's no guarantee. I mean, he had one
he
good
can't
season.
play the run.
Yeah, he can't stop the run. I mean, like we talked about this before. So if he regresses back to what he was, the norm, you play above the norm, you play below the norm, and then you got the norm. And the norm ain't that great for him.
Does James Bradbury have a bounce back year?
No. He's got to go. He's got to go. Come on. And then Howie's sticking up for him. Come on. Let's be honest, man. They got a lot of work to do. They're still very talented, but they're kind of top heavy on the offensive side. That defense is weak. Might be, one of the worst defensive backfields in the NFL. Thank God they picked up CJ, but he's no guarantee either. I mean, if he lost a step, then we're really in trouble off that injury.
What do you think the owner meant when he said that he wanted Jalen Hurts to be more authentic?
I got no clue. I mean, is
that code for a better leader?
I don't know. I mean, he's not the leader. I mean, we all know that. We saw what happened in the locker room. If anything, A.J. Brown's the most vocal guy on the team. Authentic. I got no clue. I don't know. I got no clue what he meant about that.
Hey.
He's talking in code to me. I mean, why? You're the owner of the team. Just be straightforward. I want him to be more authentic. Okay. A reporter should have been like, okay, what's that mean? They just let that go. Why would you let that go as a reporter?
I don't get it, man. I really don't. Real quick, I'm going to move off of football here. I had Curt Schilling on. Curt Schilling, I asked him if he thought that the Phillies were a 100-win team. He said yes to you.
No. That's a lot of wins.
Yeah, I think they're a 95 win, 94, 93, somewhere in there.
They'll be lucky to get to 90 wins, man.
What? So you got the Braves winning the East again.
Yeah, it looks that way. I mean, but they keep starting off slow, and it kills you. Every year they start off slow, and they get hot, and the bats get going. There's no guarantee it's going to happen again if they start off slow again. So,
are they getting work today?
What's that?
Are the Eagles getting work? The Phillies getting work today?
I haven't even watched the game. I'm not even sure. I can check the screen.
I wouldn't be shocked if they're getting worked right now.
I know it was a low-scoring game early, but their bullpen's got issues again. It's the same thing over and over again. But they got some of the best bats in baseball. They got some good leaders on that team. But again, the NL's getting tough. It's 2-2 in the 8th.
Okay. How about this? Let me go to the tournament here. Is this the most frustrating sporting event to gamble on?
No, we've had a great March Madness. We were right around 74%. And then last night I went 1-2. So it took us right to about 70% against the spread. I've been preaching for years that you can't bet the regular season like you bet March Madness. In March Madness, a weird phenomenon happens where the team that wins the game covers the spread. So if you think the underdog has no shot of winning the game outright, don't even bet on them because they're not going to cover the spread. And the favorites, they're either going to win the game and cover or they're going to lose outright. So that's the approach you got to have when you're handicapping these games. It's not easy, with that.
So interesting when a team like, I'll use for instance, a team like UNC takes on the Citadel. You don't bet that because if it's close, it's going to be a 1-point game, right? Or because it's just your chances of that happening are 1 in a million anyway. And for them, like you said, Carolina's not going to cover the spread on that. And so the only thing you'd be hoping is that you'd be throwing a blind faith bet that Citadel would upset them. And so that's how you lose a lot of games. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, you want to bet the dogs on the money line. So you get a better price. You get more of a return on your money, and you don't pay the juice. But you got to make sure they got a chance to beat that team. Like when we bet Texas A&M, we took them +9. I didn't think they could stay within the number. I actually thought they could beat Houston, and that game, was close. So if you don't think that that underdog can win the game outright, don't even bet them. Don't even bet them because they're not going to cover the spread. And it's been this year right around it's been over 80%. It's been happening. So you got to really pay attention. You got to do your homework. Got to do your research. But favorites were covering like crazy. And then last night you saw the dogs start coming in. And then we got some good games lined up next. So it's going to be fun.
Why does UConn not get the national praise? Do you know if they win this national championship, this will be 6? That means they have more than Indiana. They have more than, I think the only teams that have more are Kentucky, UCLA. They'll have as many as Duke. If I'm not mistaken, they'll have 6. Indiana is at 5. They'll have more national titles than Kansas. Why doesn't UConn get the national praise? Is it because it's in stores or Big East? I mean, it has to be one of the most underrated programs in the country.
Yeah, and they got one of the best coaches in college basketball. And chances are they're going to be back in it again this year. I mean, they were number 1 or number 2 all season in most of the advanced power rankings. It was them in Houston. You see what they do to teams. They jump out, early on these teams. They got great defense. They're like the New England Patriots of college basketball the last 2 seasons. They're going to be hard to beat. And I really don't know why they don't get the praise. But, the SEC gets a lot of love, ACC. But I don't know.
Who do you have tonight?
I got futures on Purdue. I really need them, but the line's going against me a little bit. It opened up 4, went to 5, bounced back to 4.5 a little bit. But I think Purdue gets the job done. I mean, Gonzaga's been shooting lights out. They played Kansas. They shot 60% from the floor, 53% from the 3-point line. That's not going to happen against a team like Purdue. Purdue's one of the best rebounding teams in college basketball. Should be a fun game, but I think Purdue's a little too strong for them. I like Purdue there. Creighton, Tennessee is going to be a great game. We got futures on it from the beginning of the season. I took Creighton at 25-1, Tennessee at 14-1. So we're sitting in a good position there. But again, at 3.5, 3, I think Tennessee's a little too strong for that team. I kind of like Tennessee there. What else is going on tonight? Marquette, they're a really, really solid team. NC State's looked pretty, but I think it's the end of the road for them. Marquette beats this team. I think the line's up to 7. It opened up 6. I still think there's some value if you lay 7 on Marquette. I think they're a tough team to beat also.
You like Gonzaga?
No, not against Purdue.
No, I mean,
they got one.
Gonzaga's another one of those programs that I would say this could be the best program in the country not to have won a national title.
Yeah, they've been there. And they got a great coach. They've been
Mark Few.
Times. Yeah, but every time they stepped up this season, they lost. They lost to Purdue by 10. They lost to UConn by 13 earlier in the season. So anytime they stepped up in competition, they fell kind of flat. But again, it's a short line. It's only 5. There's a reason why, the odds makers expect this to be a close game, but I don't. I think Purdue beats this team.
You still got UConn winning the whole thing?
on paper, they look to be, they look like they're the best team in college. I mean, how can you argue with that? You can't argue with the odds makers. I think they're even money now to win the whole thing. Best team in college basketball. Unless they trip up and have a bad shooting night, they're going to be back in the national championship.
Well, it's going to be interesting. That's to say the least. Philly Godfather, we love you. Tell folks how they can find you.
Follow me on Twitter at Philly Godfather. Stop by the PhillyGodfather.com and go Birds, baby.
You got it. Philly Godfather, our good friend. Hit the like button. Keep it here, National Football Show.
Underdog Fantasy is the easiest place to play fantasy sports, and certainly the easiest when you're watching the NBA. And the NBA playoffs are almost here, and you can win money making picks. What are you waiting for? Sign up on UnderdogFantasy.com and use the promo code WIN. An Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN. Get ready for the NBA and get ready for the NBA playoffs. Go to UnderdogFantasy.com. Use the promo code WIN.
Philadelphia fans were cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Mike Little was a union construction worker who was badly injured when he suffered a horrific fall because of someone's negligence. His life would change forever.
It was just a real downward spiral with everything you do, and you're sitting home by yourself all day. You can't go out because you can't drive, you can't walk well. It was just a horrible situation.
Call Brian Fritz at the Fritz and Beyond Cooley Law Firm at 215-548-2222.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Yeah, I had to give myself a little extra time here to go over this fabulous trade that Professor Roseman made with the Jets and Joe Douglas. I mean, I saw Yale say something that he goes, Howie's looking at the future. No, Howie's projecting the future. He has not one certainty on defense. A.J. Brown's a really good ball player. Devontae's a really good ball player. Landon Dickerson is a really good ball player. Jalen's a good ball player. Cam Jurgens is a good ball player. Defense. Josh Sweat's a good ball player. Jalen Carter has the makings of being a great player. Jordan Davis, put in the right position, could be a good player. Who takes over for BG? I don't know. Nolan Smith has shown me nothing. Nakobe Dean has showed me nothing. Devon White has showed me a ton of inconsistency. And Bryce Huff has shown me he can't play the run. He can't cover. His numbers dictate that. He's the worst graded linebacker in pro football and cover guy that there is. Nicholas Morrow was better. Bradbury was destroyed last year. Blankenship shouldn't be starting. Gardner Johnson is big play. He has to be big play because he's okay at the other. It's not his natural position. And Slay is okay. Look at this guy here. Tyler goes, Nolan is not a bust. Dude, Nolan Smith can't get on a field when a team last year needed him to. You're out of your mind. Here, as of right now, Nakobe Dean's a bust. He's a bust. Whatever you want to say. Why are you comparing an off-ball linebacker to a pass rusher in coverage? Because that's where he's going to play in a 34. He's going to play linebacker in a 34, dude. Know your fronts. What are you going to do with Bryce Huff? Put him in an end position and play him in a 5 technique at 240 pounds? Where he's the worst graded guy against the run, I'd run right at him. He's going to play off the ball in a 4-3, in a 34 front. He'll be rushing 90% of the time? Dude, not true. He was only on the field for 47% of the Jet snaps last year. Look at this guy making shit up. 47% of the snaps he played with the Jets last year. Not 90%. Wrong. Not true. I'm talking when he's on the field. He's not on the field for anything more than 47% of the 62 snaps in any NFL game. Do you get that? So, if a team throws the ball 30 times, he's going to be on the field 20. And the rest of them, they're going to run at him because he sucks. Unbelievable how you can't add. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Why are you not looking at reality here? You're trying to make something look better than it is when it's not. That's right, Barb. Huff is a situational player. He wasn't an every down player in New York. Look at this guy. This guy says, I'm confused. When the guy didn't start. So wait a minute. Hey, Andre, you do realize you gave money to a backup, right? He was a backup in New York, right or wrong? Andre, was he a backup in New York, yes or no? Here's how you'll know if he knows what he's doing. Was he a backup in New York? Yes or no? Was he a backup in New York? Yes or no? Was he a backup in New York? Yes or no? He was a rotation guy. That's a backup. Dude, rotation guys play more than 45% of the snaps. So you gave $18 million to a rotation guy. And the only look at these people they don't want to answer that. You got to earn your keep. Well, the Jets didn't think so. And the Jets made a trade and gave up assets and are going to pay Reddick more money. I don't get it. So the Jets are going to give him a contract. They gave the Eagles draft picks. And the Jets got a lesser player. And that's an upgrade. Your own general manager said it was a projection on how we look at him. I can't believe how you'll defend idiotic things and not look at things for what they are and have your own opinion instead of defending somebody. Don't ever trust a GM or a head coach or owner. They're liars. They're all liars. Maybe that's where I come from, because I know these people lie, they connive, and they don't tell the truth. And maybe that's why it comes off negative, because you know why? I don't trust them. I never have, and I never will. There's certain GMs that I trust because I know them personally, like Kevin Colbert. But most of them, I don't. Do I trust Dan Morgan in Carolina? Yeah, but he works for a psycho owner. And David Tepper. So guess what? Even his opinions are going to be skewed and jaded. Slagger. Come on, Sills. You said it. Reddick was a $15 to $16 million guy. Yeah. Correct. And he was one-dimensional. Pass rushing. Correct. But you didn't upgrade the position because Huff's not better at any of those other skill sets. He's not a better pass run defender, and he's not a better pass coverage guy, and you gave him $2 million more. Where's the upgrade? You didn't upgrade the position. You're missing this. You did not get a better player to replace Reddick, who at least did one thing exceptional. That was wrecking ball games with the pass. He's a better pass rusher than Michael Parsons is. If you look at the projected 34 in the draft, most of the 6'5", 3 linebackers, we have no one that fits the bill at that moment. Huff is going to play left defensive end. That guy won't last 5 games there. Holy shit. If I'm the Browns, I run at that guy every single play. He's the worst run defender in the league. And it's been that way the last years he's played. It's why the Jets moved from him. Wow. You're going to play that guy on first and second down, Bryce Huff, in a position where he is the worst. And you're going to take his top skill set, which is pass rushing, away from him and put him in a run defensive position? How does that make sense? Wow. Oh, no, Spike. Y'all be crying again at the end of the year when your shitbag defense is losing to shitty teams and losing to shitty quarterbacks again. Absolutely. You got it. And you know what? Now I know why you guys haven't won more than one Super Bowl. Can't help yourselves. You guys can't get out of your own way. Yeah. You can't get out of your own way. You can't help it. Wait till Nick Chubb runs the shit right out of that thing. He's going to run Bryce Huff into the blue tent. Oh, my God. And you really think you're going to cover their tight end with any of those? Who, Nolan Smith? You got to be kidding me. You ain't got a cover linebacker on your football team yet. You ain't got a solidified pass. You got one guy with 1 year as a pass rusher. You guys really take into account 1 year and not consistency. The one thing I'll give Reddick, and I said it to you, Reddick has many deficiencies. But one thing he did do was rush the passer. And he was exceptional at it. Philly money ball. It's Howie ball. You bet, baby. They play Howie ball over there. Let me move the 10 cents over here. Let's see if I can make a dime into like a penny. Seriously, man, this guy deals in penny stocks. He's a penny stock trader. Watch this. My boss will get a call on that one. Hey, Howie, you're the best penny stock trader I've ever seen. Oh, yeah. This guy trades penny stocks. He's a penny stock trader. Yeah, jumping over a dime to pick up a nickel. That's exactly right. Oh, better be careful, Xander. God knows people will make shit out of that. They make shit out of everything else in today's life. Holy cow. Woo! The Giants got better on defense. The Giants have a better defense than you. They have a better defense than you, the Giants. Their offense is terrible, but the Giants' defense is better than you. They got better players. They got a better defense. By the way, you went 1-1 against that shitbox team. And the pizza guy beat you. Okay? The pizza guy beat you. The Giants still stink. You played one more game than the New York Giants did last year. Always get that and keep that in the back of your mind, guy. Okay? You played only one more game than they did. And you got murdered in that game. And you lost 4 straight at the end. So who's what? Sills, so we signed another luxury offensive player in Barkley, which was stupid. And trade away a proven asset for 06. Third round seeds that we hope will grow into a second rounder. What am I missing? Hey, really? Hey, if Reddick turns out to be the player, get this. So if Reddick turns out to be the player he's been, okay, which he's going to be, the Eagles get a 2 years from now. Or, 2 drafts from now. Will Nick even be the head coach then? Hey, I just tell you, man, this has really been. Hey, I want to thank Howie, though, for the media dump. I do. I want to thank Howie for the media dump on this Good Friday. And excuse me, Betty, because I did drop an F-bomb on Good Friday. I'll do my penance, couple Hail Marys and Our Fathers. I promise I will. With my great-grandfather's rosary that I have. So I will do that. Holy cow. Howie to the rescue on a Friday. Doesn't get any better, man. Hey, congratulations to you, Philadelphia Eagle guys, and all you Howie Roseman supporters. You had a great day, of course, to you guys. But to the team, not so much. But you have a wonderful Easter. I hope everyone's happy this weekend and has a great time. My kid's coming home. I'm looking forward to taking her out. I'm looking forward to seeing her. Thank you guys so much. Joe, Xander, thank you guys. Hey, have a wonderful have a wonderful Easter on Sunday. We'll see you Monday, and we'll see you on the flip side.